Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Talk or Ask Us Anything. Unusually, it's actually been a pretty quiet news week, so there hasn't really been any news of note. Although we did have a very successful casual meetup on Sunday, which we'll discuss later in the program. But in lieu of any real news, we'll go straight to discussion right now. And welcome everyone. As I remove my spotlight, welcome everyone. If there are any new faces, please put your hand up or say hello, or just shout out and say hello.
Hi everyone, Adam Davies. I will be picking up my Model 3. At the moment, I've been told it's anywhere between the 18th of Feb and 4th of March.
Fantastic, congratulations. So do you have a Poverty Pearl White Standard Range Model 3?
I've got the white seats.
Oh, and white exterior as well?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, a little bit later on, we'll be able to describe the delivery process, which I can actually do right now. In the time it's taken me to speak these words is longer than the time it'll take for them to deliver the car to you. So it's a super fast process, as you've probably been informed through email or other communication. Really, you just go there, collect the car. If you've got any questions, by all means ask them. And if you've got none, you just take off and enjoy your car. It's a very smooth process at the new delivery centre facility in King Edward Road, which is awesome. But congratulations, that's exciting times.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, they promised me my car about the same time as what you just mentioned. So I phoned them up and they said, well, we probably get it the first week in March. That's what they told me.
Oh, okay. So you got no deadline yet, so you can't count sleeps, not quite yet.
No. They say when they have the cars in their hands, they start inviting you to come over and collect it.
Yep.
You might have the chip in your hand, Willem, before you have the car in your hand.
Sorry?
You could have the chip in your hand before you have the car in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So is there anyone else that's new that would like to say hello?
I've been here a few times, but I'm also expecting my car between the 18th and the 4th of March, and it's a long range red.
Fantastic, Norm. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think I'd say a welcome to Scott. I don't recognise Scott as being on before.
Hey, I am actually. I've got a friend of mine who's a Tesla owner, and I've had one for a little while, and she's recommended me come and say hello to the group.
Cool, welcome.
I'm in quarantine at the moment. My wife just got back from LA, and we've got a week's quarantine. I thought, you know what? I haven't done anything massively interesting today, so I thought I'd come and have a listen. Full disclosure, I'm actually in the car industry. Own a fleet management company. I thought it would also be interesting to connect with some Tesla owners, because might be a nice way to promote EVs amongst my customers.
Absolutely. So how much longer have you got in ISO?
Like 4 more days now. It was
okay, so
supposed to be 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yep. So that's a bit more than 72 hours. So I'm not sure if we can run this program all the way through to until you're actually out of ISO.
No,
but we could give it a big crack.
I've got some other things to do as well. But I appreciate that.
Oh, I don't know. Gee, we offered. I think our longest episode.
I appreciate the offer.
Our longest episode's about 4.5 hours. So
Wow.
I'm sure we could try and do an order of magnitude longer than that.
Well, I might go get another glass of wine in between. So,
Oh, don't worry. You can get home delivery of liquor. It's all good. You can get a couple of cases and you'll be right.
there's plenty in the cellar. Don't worry about it.
Excellent. But welcome to the program. Anyone else? Yeah. No worries. Anyone else that's new? Please say hello now before we get into the question bit. I think we're all good. Alrighty, so I think, Nigel, you were asking something before the program that you might like to ask again.
Well, it was actually to do with the Model Y, which I've maintained we're not going to get here till October, November at the earliest. I don't know what other people's thoughts are, but I just read something in Drive that the rear-wheel drive Model Y has just had updates in China. It's now going to accelerate from 0 to 60 extremely slowly, about as fast as I can ride a push bike. It's 6.9 seconds. Yeah. And its range has been increased, but they reckon that's due to the testing procedure having changed. But they did say something about the Model Y in Australia has been certified. And then you get back to September 21, when it said 3 models have been certified for Australia, a standard range, a long range, and a performance. Is that true? Are they certified here? Have they been homologated and so on?
Currently, on the certification unit, which is really interesting, they've actually deleted the Model S and X, and they only have Model 3.
Yeah.
Currently, but there is that other certification, the Department of Transport website that does have further details of the Model Y. But it hasn't gone to this other certification unit, which is this website here. But I'm just not sure whether perhaps this is that they're going to stop using that website and use the other one. So it's a little bit confusing as to what's going on, because, you know, the Model 3 is on one website and not on the other one that the Model Y is on. So I think in Hong Kong, let's just have a look at the Tesla's website. If we
they've got the 3 there.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got. There we go. If you go to Hong Kong, which would be instructional, and go to Model Y, they currently have the 3 models. So they have their standard Model Y, standard range, which would be rear-wheel drive, the long range, and performance. That's Hong Kong. Now, if you go to the UK, which is also a right-hand drive market,
they don't have the standard range.
They don't have the standard range. So I guess that makes that question interesting, because they only have long and performance. And incidentally, for the long range, they're still claiming March, which is interesting. But for the performance, they're claiming mid-year, which probably means that the performance might be intended to come from Germany, on the presumption that the Gigafactory will be up and running by then. Or, well,
yeah. All these Teslas, Model Ys, were in the car park at Shanghai. The picture behind me. And they were all ready for export.
And are they right-hand drive?
You can't tell.
But
I'm sure they're all going over to Europe.
There was a Woo-Wah, there's quite a few Woo-Wah videos, and when he sort of goes low and scans across, it's actually really easy to see now if it's a right-hand drive, because even with previously you used to have to try and find a white interior car, and then you could more easily see where the black steering wheel was. But now if you look at the more common black interior cars, the steering wheel these days is covered with a white cover of some sort, protective cover, so you can actually see the white of the steering wheel on the correct side, well, our side. So clearly, and there are deliveries commencing in the UK for Model Ys, because they have landed, but there's just no sign of it here, Nigel. Like you say, so you were saying you're looking at November in your crystal ball.
Yes, that's my crystal balls.
Did you say crystal balls?
I did.
Look, honestly, I think realistically we'd be better off. We'd be luckier getting a Toyota by November, a Toyota Corolla. I don't know if you know, but supply on cars and stock is restricted everywhere. I think we'd be very lucky. It's not just Australia, it's all over the world, as you alluded to earlier through the microchips. I think we'd be very lucky to get anything other than the Model 3 until 2023.
You're more of a pessimist than me.
I
I'm a
I
realist.
I refute that. I think
Yeah.
Can I say something about that? So I ordered a Toyota Rogue September 4 last year, and it arrived in Fremantle Port 3 weeks ago. It's been sitting out at Fremantle Port for the last 3 weeks. It came off the something freeway, highway boat carrier. And yeah, it's just been sitting on the port waiting for a car carrier to pick it up, which is due to be picked up in another 3 more days. And then it goes to Qdale for another 6 days. And then it comes to me. Unfortunately, Fremantle Port is known in the world of ports as being one of the worst ports in the world. So yeah, they take their time on getting stuff out. So looking at the
Jared,
cameras,
I think you're absolutely right. Ordering a car in September and getting it in March, right? That's big. But ordering a car now in March, you'll see it next March. I think Fremantle ports are hard, but we're not talking about Teslas coming to Fremantle. We're talking about Teslas coming to Australia. And I firmly believe we're not going to see anything other than Model 3 until 2023.
I sort of slightly disagree because the commonality in parts between the 3 and the Y, particularly in all of the semiconductor parts, are identical for all intents and purposes. And that's the biggest issue. And for instance, Tesla in Shanghai, the Shanghai produced Model 3s, I think it was. They've actually removed one of it was a redundant steering wheel actuator. So the steering has got 2 actuators, which is actually something that my old Model X doesn't have. It only has a single actuator. But for full self-driving, they need the redundancy of a second steering mechanism or actuator. And because of part shortages, Tesla actually a couple of months ago, in the December quarter production, have omitted or only fitted one of the 2 actuators in a lot of cars. I don't know whether they're only domestic consumption cars or whether they were for export as well. And that's purely because of a chip shortage or part shortage. And they're basically getting twice the yield by halving the use. One little aside, no one has to fret. If you don't need a second actuator for autopilot or anything else. It's only for full self-driving. And obviously Tesla will fit that missing module or actuator upon you getting full self-driving or paying for it, and upon it being available, even if just as a beta. So that's one issue. But I think the semiconductor issue that's not going to blur the line between or affect the production of Model Y, or let's just call it Model 3/Y, because clearly in Australia there will be some cannibalization of Model 3 sales in favor of Model Y, because a lot of people are effectively compromising in buying a Model 3 where they would prefer a Model Y, but not prefer it enough to delay their purchase for the time being. So I think, Tesla is clearly increasing their total production, and they've been doing that in Shanghai by increasing capacity. But I think the main reason, the limiting factor for Model Y in Australia is that the demand is so high, Tesla will probably wait until Germany ramps up to at least enough to supply much of the European market for Model Y. And then we'll get the overruns from Shanghai to Australia. I think that's what's going to really limit it. And who knows how long that could take. It could take at least 6 months to get some sort of ramp into Germany if it starts anytime soon. But it won't be, it's not as if they can't build Model Ys, but they can build Model 3s for want of parts. Really, the parts that matter in that sense are all the same.
I agree. We're talking about a global supply issue here, right? And my feeling is that Australia as far as global supply goes, is not at the top pecking order. And because of that, for that reason, for geographical isolation reasons, all those reasons, I don't believe that we're going to see. I ordered a Cybertruck in like 2021. I think they came out. You could put $200 down on one, and that's not coming through for, I don't know, 2022, 23, 24 or something like that. So
25 more like.
Yeah, 25,
Yeah.
26. I would say.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, you came late to the party, mate, because if you ordered in 2021, there are quite a few of us in the room that ordered on the 19th of November. Actually, I think I was the 20th of November, 2019.
Yeah, right.
So we've already been waiting
Wicked.
a juicy 2 and a bit years.
And it was $150 deposit.
And
Yeah.
I've waited 5.5 years for my first Tesla, but 2 points effectively. But 2 points to make there. So in 2021, from all indications going on Elon Musk's comments in the latest earnings call, it seems like 2022, yes, there'll still be supply chain issues and parts shortages, but doesn't seem like they'll be as acute as they were in 2021. And in 2021, they still managed to increase their production. What was it, 89%? Now, that's one point. The other point is that as of, maybe a month or two from now, there'll be 4 factories producing Model Y, but only 2 factories producing Model 3. And it won't take long before Model Y volumes eclipse Model 3 volumes. And then Australia will...
So, they've been very good at producing Model 3s for a long time. I don't know if you remember, or if you've been to the factory, they got very good at producing S's at it. Like they found it very hard to produce them, and production issues like production was stalled massively because they weren't very good at making them. Because it's not people making these cars, it's robots making these cars, and robots, they need training and all that. Well, they need improvements as they go along. I think that it's going to take them a long time to get Model 3 right. They'll get it right, but it's going to take them longer than what I think everyone's expectations are.
So how long did the...
I'm not sure if
how long did it take for Model 3 to ramp up to, decent volumes in Shanghai? It was about a year to build a factory, and then about...
I'm 12 months.
I'm talking about in Fremont. I'm talking about when they started.
Yeah, but Scott, no, that's you got to set Fremont aside because. Oh, sorry, we just got clash. You back there? Sorry, yeah. So Scott, you got to set Fremont aside because that's effectively the old Tesla they were built. They had moved into the NUMMI plant, and they were learning how to build.
Fremont was a retrofit. All the other factories are
exactly. So the one you need to look at the closest is the way that Shanghai ramped. And Shanghai basically went from a farmer's field to a fully built factory in less than 12 months. Yep. And they went from a brand new factory to effectively fully ramped in another 12 months. So, and they've been ramping actually organically ever since. And the Model Y ramp, I think, of Model Y is almost fully ramped, and that's after 12 months. So, the issue will be, I think, for Australia is we don't know. I don't know if anyone knows the figures of how many Model Ys are being imported into Europe at the moment. But basically, you could say that, Australia won't be that many cars as all of Europe. But as soon as Germany can ramp, and there's no reason, there is Germany's taken twice as long to build as Shanghai, but the equipment in Germany is actually even newer, and the way they've designed the production line is even better than Shanghai. So it's more streamlined. So even though the time to build the factory took twice as long, the time to ramp will take no longer. because if anything, their technology is even better, and they know how to build those cars because they've already built them. They've already been building them in Fremont with a retrofitted factory, in Shanghai with a new factory. So Germany will ramp just as quickly
Actually,
as
they've already been building Model Ys in Austin and in Berlin, but they've only been building are they called the compliance cars or
I
testing
think they're
cars?
they're pre-production, so they're not allowed to sell them.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah, pre-production test cars, but they've got the single piece. The three pieces. You got to have the front, the back as a single piece, and then the structural battery. All those casts they've got pre-built. They're piling up in Berlin. They're piling up in Austin. So as soon as they get the go-ahead, I think the ramp up will be a lot faster than people expect. It
Yeah,
might
and as soon as
possibly be faster than Shanghai.
There could,
And as soon as that
there could be
occurs-
a little slip up there. There could be a little bit of a hold up since Germany relies on its gas from Russia, and Russia right now really busy at the moment setting up new insurance offices in remote areas. So yeah, it might be a bit of a hold up. Might be a little bit of a bump there in Germany for a while, I think.
Well, the thing is, there is a gas pipeline, the $11 billion gas pipeline that has just been built, but it hasn't actually yet been commissioned or approved to be used. So there's no gas flowing through that pipe. There is obviously another Russian pipe. And I guess the question is, yes, President Biden has stated that if there's any conflict in Europe, then that second pipeline will not be allowed to flow gas. But that's just a lack of increase in gas supply. It's not a decrease, and it's doubtful that there'd be a decrease of gas. I don't think that's going to be the issue. The issue is going to be just timing of the German authorities to get the final approval done, so Tesla can actually move on. Because as Pete mentioned earlier, Tesla, I think they've had approvals to do it might have been even as much as a couple of thousand cars, or I know it was hundreds and hundreds. 2,000 cars. But
yeah.
and they can build them as hard as they like or as fast as they like or do whatever they need to do with them. But the condition is that none of those cars are set for sale, I presume, either in Germany or probably in Europe. Now, I mean, maybe you could obviously put those cars into showrooms. There's nothing wrong with that as
I'll buy one.
As props.
Definitely buy one.
Or possibly, they may be able to export them out of Europe and send them to the US. I mean, that's possible. It's just that they're certainly not allowed to sell them in probably Germany or Europe.
Could they be used as demonstration cars?
Yeah, well,
It's technically
Crash
being
testers.
sold.
I could crash test them.
well, there's a lot of tests.
That's too many.
But
Speaking
go,
of
Pete.
Joe, oh, sorry, I was just going to change the subject. So if you wanted to make another point,
no, that's good.
Can I just make
Yeah,
one
Mark.
only
point?
issue is, the only issue with selling
You go,
them
Mark.
is, if you remember, their serial numbers actually state in the designation that they are actually prototypes or whatever the actual designation was. So that might be an obstacle to selling them in any ways, but they might be able to use them as demonstrators, as you said.
Yeah, they have to sell them into Mandra.
Cool. And Paul, you're going to say something.
I was
Paul,
just going to make a point. Yeah, like with the Model Y, it's like a fat Model 3, like my car. But they're at a higher cost, like a higher price to the public, and almost the same cost to build. And actually, with the casting and stuff, it'll be even cheaper. So it's in Tesla's best interest to just start pumping out the Model Ys to us, because that crossovers are quite popular in Australia. So I think it'll be a bit earlier in the year than not, because Model 3s are bloody everywhere now.
Absolutely. Pete, hold on to your thought for 2 seconds. Well, just from what you just said, Paul, I mean, we had discussed several episodes ago, and I had my little pet theory of it's not implausible for Tesla to actually drop the Model 3 in favor of just pushing out the Model Y and unifying all their lines to just pump out one model as efficiently as possible. I mean, it's not necessarily, whether the odds of that happening you know, you could possibly say it might be 50-50, or maybe they just don't care because if you've got a whole production line just doing one model, well, it doesn't really matter. You can just leave it alone and just let it pump out Model 3s for that matter. But yeah, I think clearly the price difference between the 3 and the Y, which used to be significant, I think is now almost immaterial. But yeah, sorry. So Pete, you were going to move us along to another subject.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, speaking of Joe Biden, he's acknowledged Tesla for the first time. If anyone has, did you want me to play the video?
Yeah, go. I haven't
very quick.
spooled it up.
He didn't look very happy when he said it.
Yeah, he sort of mumbled it, but he said it. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Should be. Can you guys see my screen?
More than 200.
Can you hear it?
And Intel isn't alone.
Yep.
Since 2021, companies have announced investments totaling more than $200 billion in domestic manufacturing here in America. From iconic companies like GM and Ford building out new electric vehicle production to Tesla, our nation's largest electric vehicle manufacturer, to innovative younger companies like Rivian building electric trucks, or Proterra building electric buses, which I saw at a virtual tour last year when I met with the CEO virtually, and they really impressed me. These companies joining Intel, bringing microchip manufacturing back to America after decades of decay. From Texas Instruments to Samsung in Texas to TSMC in Arizona. And
Hey,
Intel
Pete,
isn't
just
alone.
rewind. Just keep it going for a sec. Yeah, pause it now.
Investments totaling
Right, pause.
The tritium.
Notice that is an Australian company, Tritium. That was a bit of news, but it's not all that Tesla. Well, it's not really related to Tesla. But they are going to build a production plant in. It was a city
Tennessee.
starting with letter C. Was it Tennessee or was it?
It was
Tennessee.
I'm sure it's Tennessee.
Yes, that's a Tritium RTM. That's I think it's either a 150 kilowatt or 175 kilowatt fast DC charger.
Yeah.
And notice in the center under the screen, it's actually got a credit card acceptor.
Oh,
he does too.
Companies like GM and Ford building out new
Is
electric
that Joe
vehicle
Biden
production
talking
to
about there,
Tesla,
Harold, or?
our nation's largest electric vehicle manufacturer.
I think he takes the credit card,
oh, God.
Yes, so there you go. So way to go, Mr. President. You know how to say the word Tesla and not have to put the name Nikola in front of it.
It only took a ad. Was it a Times Square ad?
Yeah.
I didn't see the transparent screens. They must have been out of camera shot. I remembered all those names.
Perhaps I know what happened. It was a neural implant that Neuralink had fitted to the president.
Yeah,
he's a robot. He's not the true guy.
He was actually paralyzed, and the neural implant did all the work for him.
He had his third booster.
Very good, very good.
Oh, God.
Okay, so has anyone got any questions, especially anyone new? If you haven't gotten your car yet, feel free to ask away. Before I do that, I'll just repeat what I try and repeat every week is just Google Synergy EV tariff. If you've bought your car in your own name and you have your Synergy account in your name, then you will qualify once you get your registration papers to get to go into the Synergy EV tariff. It basically gives you a 30% discount for your entire house for any use of electricity between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. And unless you've got an exotic legacy, grandfathered time-shifting plan, or you've got battery storage and the so-called smart tariff, basically the EV tariff is a no-brainer. There's no sting in the tail. There's no more expensive time slots. You simply just get the discount from 11 till 4 a.m. So like I said, just Google Synergy EV tariff. All right, so to questions. Anyone got a question or anything about their car or their car to be?
I
I've got
comment on the, I guess the screen. I was watching YouTube the other day, and the frugal Tesla guy had a tutorial on the Tesla app, and I think it's particularly for Adam and Willem and a few other people. It goes through that app and just explains a lot of the basic points. I guess everyone else can look at it as well, but I found it quite interesting. And I think for new Tesla owners, it could be good. That's the frugal Tesla guy. And he's got one of his presentations is the app tutorial. I reckon that was well worth listening to.
You know that's Peter. You know that's Nigel with a wig on, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. No, he's too
If
calm.
you own a Tesla,
His other personality.
That's him there.
Yeah.
more than that. I'm Frugal Tesla Guy, and I'm going to take you into every nook and cranny of the Tesla
Oh,
app.
30 minutes. Jesus.
Yeah, so we might do that later when we need to do have a long wee or something. But yeah. So just for that, just Google Frugal Tesla Guy, and you'll actually get to his channel. So that's a good pro tip. Yeah, thanks,
and
Peter.
the app just updated again as well. So now
Was that today or was that?
Might have been a
few
couple of
days
days
ago.
ago. But yeah, now at the bottom of the app, you've got like details of your car and like your specs and your warranty. So you know when your warranty's up and things like that. So that's pretty good.
All over.
There's also a bit that tells you about your charging statistics as well.
Yeah,
where you charged. And has anyone used it at all on that? Because you can't change the figures, but I managed to change the figures at the very back. You couldn't do it from the normal place. It wouldn't let me change anything. But I went to the I think it was the bottom, and you could change it from the back end of it effectively, but only for one of them. I couldn't change it for the home charging, only for other.
You can change it.
There you go.
You can punch in your own details, but it does take a lot of mucking around on the app.
It does, because it gets you to initially define your charging tariff, and then you put in a zip code and only accepts America. But you can actually override that. But you can override that.
Oh, right. I did try, but it didn't accept it on mine. Only for other. It could do it on other, but not for my home.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Yeah, you can. But you just go $5, $7, $10 a tank, and that keeps people happy. And you don't have to line up. I almost ran into a whole bunch of people yesterday because they're all out on the street. So I drove around and I couldn't rev the engine, so.
Can I ask a question, please?
Oh, yes, Roz, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm a new Tesla owner. I picked my Tesla up in December, so I've had it for almost 2 months now. Is there some way of getting the odometer reading on the main screen rather than going down to Trips to find it?
That's the only place for it, unfortunately. You can see it.
I'd like to be able to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see it on your phone app. On your phone.
Where?
On the Tesla app, the odometer reading.
Yeah, I've got my Tesla app. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
on the main menu, you just scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Scroll.
Oh, this scrolling all the way down.
All the way down the bottom there.
Every now.
You've done.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, 1344. Right.
Yeah,
I did not know that was there.
It's okay.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yep.
I don't recommend using your phone while you're driving, looking at it, or listening to the ABC at the same time as looking at your phone while driving. Very dangerous. Don't condone that kind of action at all, but yeah.
Hey, Roz, what's happened to your Nissan Leaf?
I've still got it. At the moment, I've got 2 cars, which is a bit embarrassing.
So you want to tell these guys how long you've had an electric car for?
I've had an electric car for 6 years.
Yeah.
So
a long-term AVA member.
Yes, I am.
Cool.
That's
well done,
right.
Ross. That's great.
So, yeah, it's taken me 6 years. I had my first test drive of a Tesla. It was actually, I lived in Australia, but I was actually visiting my son in Vancouver, and we actually test drove a Tesla in Vancouver. And then almost 6 years to the day is when I've actually got my Tesla.
Oh, cool.
Hey, Roz.
So I wanted this for a long time.
Hey, Roz, this probably doesn't count because it was a plug-in hybrid, but it's a it was Golden Volt, so it's a 4th generation plug-in hybrid. But I got that on in March 2016. So is that before or after your Leaf?
After mine, I got mine at the end of 2015.
Yeah.
So,
And do you still use the Leaf, Roz?
Sorry?
I'm 2014.
Do you still use the Leaf, Roz? Like,
yes, I use the Leaf. At the moment, one's the grandchildren's car and one's the dog's car. So, but they'll have to go into one car.
And what's the range on your Leaf now, Roz?
In winter, it got down to 60 last winter, and that just was, I knew I had to do something before this winter because it was too limiting.
So
but,
that gives 60
but I did actually 60 kilometres. But in summer, it's much better. It was more like 80 or 90. But I did drive my Leaf to Yallingup, from Perth to Yallingup last January. It took me 8 hours and I had to plan it very, very carefully.
You'll be right in your
and my family went, what are you doing? And I said, I'm having an adventure to prove that this can actually be done.
Exactly.
But you know what happened on the way back? The Harvey charger conked out and wouldn't charge me. So there's me and 2 dogs in Harvey kind of going, oh, how am I going to get to Mandurah? So I rang the RAC and they sent out, well, they weren't sure what they were going to do. We tried resetting the charger, tried a range of things that took about 2 hours. And I checked out the local caravan park to see if I could stay there overnight so I could charge my car overnight and get home. And this lovely lady with a tow truck turned up that the RAC had sent from Dwellingup. She stuck me and the 2 dogs way up in her cabin and drove us to Mandurah so we could actually get home from there. So that was about an 11-hour trip, that one was.
Oh, that's
I was going to say that's
another great Mandurah story.
Home, so it's a big event. Yes.
I'm surprised the RSPCA weren't involved, because to subject a dog to a 11-hour trip from Yallingup to Perth is just cruel.
Well, the
Was the
great
ABC
things
on?
about charging is that you just take your dogs out for a walk while you're charging, don't you? So the dogs love it.
Right, so they probably like slow charging because they get long walks.
They do. They think it's a great idea.
Oh dear. So yeah, well, I mean, it's great that you've got a Tesla, because now all that thing is a past life. It's not, those issues just don't exist anymore.
I just can't believe, like I get in there, it says 380 Ks and I go, wow, that's amazing.
It sure is. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's great to have you on board, Roz. It's awesome. It's always great when you see people that have done the right thing and they've gotten other versions of electric cars and done their best with them, and then in the end you just conclude that at the moment, all things being equal, Tesla's just a superior product. It's just just what it is. It's fantastic.
Still a big fan of the Nissan Leaf. The Nissan Leaf is a very glowing part in my heart.
I think you deserve a medal, Rob.
Big fan of the Leaf. Yeah. Well, now that Ryobi owns it, it's all going to change.
Roz is like the OG electric car person. She's like Dr. Dre of the electric cars.
Exactly.
What does that mean?
You'd like
Not a bad. That's not a bad thing.
If you understood the reference, Roz, you would appreciate it.
Okay.
It's very good.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, well.
Does anyone here know about new electric vehicle batteries that is made from graphene?
They can't make graphene yet. There's a lot of people trying. They've got supposedly the graphene tubes, but to my knowledge, a lot of people promoting graphene in swimming pools, work boots, a whole range of things. But I don't reckon they're producing graphene, because graphene is one single layer of graphite.
Yeah.
And they can't actually produce anything bigger than about, or at best, a cigarette box, or rather a matchbox.
Well, I'm going to put a YouTube video in here for you, a company claiming that they are developing the next Tesla battery with a range of over 1,000 kilometers.
What was that? Stordot?
That's Gruber.
Gruber.
That's from Gruber Motors.
Mm.
Let's just put this on for a second.
Pinch of salt.
Welcome back to another Gruber Motor Company video series. Today we're going to blow your mind.
He's got his sunnies on, so that doesn't look dodgy at all.
Yeah, nah.
Inside.
Nigel.
His future is so bright, he has to wear shades.
It's
With a new
Nigel.
battery for electric vehicles. What would you think of a Tesla that can go over 700 miles range and has a battery that can last up to 100 years?
I'm
Yeah,
calling
okay.
bullshit.
I would say they're bringing imports out of Mexico, that white Colombian powder. I would suggest if they're saying things like that. So,
Actually, there's a screen capture which sort of is a bit like what Peter was saying. That's the size of a matchbox, and that's the sample that the cell they've made with graphene. So,
You'd need
and
a
that's
few of
graphene
those
there.
for
It's
a
one
Tesla.
sheet of graphite,
Yeah.
and then you get nanotubes, which are awesome if you can make them.
They've got fabulous property. They know what they can do if they can produce the graphene. Its properties are incredible, but they're having a lot of trouble actually producing it. I think there's a company, AXE, on the stock exchange. They've just developed new chips. And from what I've read, it sounds like they've actually mastered it big enough for their chips. But it'd be interesting to see how they go. It's a fantastic field, but once they master it, that'd be brilliant, I think.
who's that CEO, Harold? The guy with the glasses?
Gruber.
Yeah,
Stevie
it's probably
Wonder.
his surname probably is Gruber. If it is,
You sure it's not Pitbull?
yeah, it could be
It does,
Pitbull. It could
does
be.
look like Pitbull to me.
There's actually in the Royal Institution have regular lectures. They normally have them in person, but sometimes these days they're on Zoom. And there's a great video discussing optical integrated circuits. So normal computers have silicon transistors, and they're actually implementing optical transistors and various other circuitry. And there was a great comparison that 50 years ago, there were about 1,000 transistors on a semiconductor chip. And obviously 50 years later, there's billions. Our iPhones have billions of transistors in them, which 50 years ago, when they were struggling to get 1,000, was just unheard of. Actually, I think 1,000 was roughly 1975 or 74. And optical computing, they've now got 850 optical circuits on an integrated circuit. So in 35 years' time, 45 years' time, they may well have 1 billion optical circuits, and there's lots of advantages of that. So clearly the same thing's going to happen with things like graphene, where, before they were just theoretical constructs and making it really hard. But they will eventually crack it. But Wilhelm, I think Elon Musk has said several times at previous earnings calls that if there's any fantastically amazing battery technology, they will be the first to hear about it, and they will be the first to get into it, because they're highly motivated to do such things.
And they'll be the first to buy the company.
Precisely. So Tesla, they have never ever tried to protect their previous designs or persist with legacy designs of anything. They keep iterating continually. So if they find a killer battery application, they will buy it and use it without doubt.
Yeah, and the big advantage with the graphene is there's plenty of carbon on this planet, so it's going to be a very cheap battery.
Well, it's basically, in fact, it's not even a battery; it's actually a supercapacitor. So the advantages are, if done successfully, the advantages are enormous. It's a similar revolution. It would do to the lithium-ion battery what the lithium-ion battery did to the alkaline battery or lead-acid battery. Because as we know, lithium-ion isn't actually a chemical battery. There's no chemical reaction taking place. It's just a movement of ions. But with supercapacitors, it's not even the movement of ions; it's just a movement of electrons. And you know, you'd better charge those batteries as hard as you liked. Sorry, those supercapacitors as hard as you liked, with you know 1,000 amps going into the supercapacitor or the battery pack.
You'll get one that'll bang if you short it out.
Oh,
There was
yeah.
there was one point about the supercapacitors. You know how they bought Maxwell Technologies?
Yep.
What they did is they kept the dry cell part of it all, and they actually let the supercapacitor part of the company and the directors and all that buy that part of the company back. So if Tesla was going to do anything with supercapacitors, they would have just kept that company. So I think that's probably like the 4680s is probably a lot better than what they're actually leaning on, and that's actually coming in the next Model Ys in Austin, and so we'll find out probably later in the year. They just don't want to cannibalize their current other cars with the 2170s. So that'll be like a pin to see in probably 6 months' time when I think they start converting over the rest.
Well, in fact, actually, the new version of Model S and X, which will be coming to Australia perhaps sometime next year, they still have the 18650s. Because they're the oldest, the smallest form factor, the original form factor that not even the Model 3s or Ys have. Model 3s and Ys have 2170s. The 18650s are 18 millimeters across and 65 millimeters long. Tesla is still getting Panasonic to produce that same form factor from the same production facility in Japan, purely because they don't want to interrupt supply. Clearly the chemistry has been tweaked, so it's got the more advanced chemistry, but the form factor they just left unchanged for now, because all Tesla wants is as many cells as anyone can produce. And they've always said they will buy all the cells that anyone can produce at a reasonable cost. Alrighty, anyone else got anything else to add or a question? Or
I've got a question if no one's got anything more to add to this topic. So I got a bill today for supercharging when I rented my Model 3 a couple of months ago. Now, I had that Model 3 under my app. So I had my black performance there, and then I had the rental car under my app. Now I've got my black performance and the white standard range, my wife's. So I'm wondering whether I'll get charged for supercharging in her car. I'm just wondering why it didn't just take off, because I've got plenty of free supercharging miles. Why didn't it just take my kilometers off if it was under my app?
I think that's linked to your car.
Yeah, so the thing is, when you rented the car, you would have been given you would have given them your email address, and they would have added you as a driver of that car. So it gives you visibility of the car. But actually, but it doesn't give you the ability to consume your free supercharging credits, which actually it should do. So that would be a feature request. Now, the way you can do it is, as Bjorn Nyland has shown, because he's actually got a car for his family in Thailand that was grey imported through Hong Kong. And he's actually gotten that car transferred to his Tesla account as his car, not just as a driver. And coincidentally, he has also demonstrated that he's actually able to order enhanced autopilot for that car in Thailand from his Norwegian Tesla account. So he actually pays Norwegian kroner, and he can actually order enhanced autopilot for his car in Thailand. So Pete, if they had actually transferred that car to you, which all it does is it just puts it into your account, and then you transfer it back out again, back to them, then you could have consumed supercharger credits when supercharging. But really, they should do it as a feature request, as an option, that if you're in, well, I guess the problem is it doesn't know. See, all it does is allows you to control the car with your app and add the car as a phone key. Sorry, add your phone as a phone key for the car. When the car is at the supercharger, Tesla doesn't know who's driving it. Well, really, sort of. Except they might know that your phone key unlocked it. So I guess they could infer that because you copped out of the car.
Yeah.
That
I think they know the driver. They don't know the owner.
Sorry, I think you broke up. I don't know if everyone else heard that. I didn't hear that properly.
He broke up. No, he broke up. Yeah.
I mean, if they really wanted to, they could infer who the driver is, because they'll know.
So Scott, just stop for a sec. You're breaking up there, mate. So just hang on 2 seconds. Just go, Pete, and Scott. You can finish off if you've got anything else.
I was just going to say they could infer who the driver is because they'll know which app opened the car, but they also know how heavy you are, and because they can weigh you in the seat. They know how heavy you are. They even know what part of the seat you're sitting on, and they reckon they can even tell whether you're a male or a female.
Really?
Really? Yeah.
What about shopping?
You can see which side you dress down and which.
Is it because they got a camera?
Yeah.
And they've got the camera, so they'll be able to have face recognition.
That's it. Go back to my link.
We don't even.
I'm never going to lift the weight onto one cheek again in the car.
Ever. Never again.
They know exactly what you've been doing, Mark.
I just hope, you know how they've got the new apps that you're going to have in the App Store? Well, it's rumored that there's going to be a Tesla App Store. Yeah. So you could actually have health apps where it does weigh you and goes, excuse me, you've put on a couple. Perhaps you might want to drive to maybe it navigates you to a swimming pool or a athletics track or a gym, perhaps.
Or maybe it will give you a warning saying the efficiency of the car has been reduced due to additional weight.
Are you sure you want to drive and not walk?
Yes. Are you sure you want to drive to that fast food restaurant?
Maybe
that's
the performance.
Yeah. Ross, don't get rid of the
Geofencing to the
Nissan
next
Leaf.
level.
It's going to be safe to drive.
Ask again.
You hang on to that Nissan Leaf, you'll get to the local fast food place and back. You'll be okay. Won't have any.
Harold, I've got a Dorothy
But I
gift for you.
had some.
So hang on 2 seconds, Carmen. Rob just jumped in, so go, Rob.
Okay, this is a question that's getting asked a lot, so obviously I know the answer. But can you explain it, Harold? Why some people take so long to get software updates when others are getting them?
Oh.
Okay, well, there can be a couple of reasons. Sometimes it's literally just random. So, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have 2 cars in the family, and there is no pattern whatsoever as to which car gets which software update when. Sometimes they'll skip update. One will get one update, and one will get the one after it, and then one will skip 2 updates, and it's sort of quite random. But other things you should note is, particularly if you're just getting your car new or you've had your car for a short time, is do make sure that you connect your car to your home Wi-Fi, if at all possible, because that is the principal way, generally almost the only way that the car will get updates, except if an update is an urgent safety related update, then Tesla will push it through the mobile phone network. But all other updates come through Wi-Fi. So do make sure that you learn in your car into Wi-Fi. You'll see that there's an icon that shows LTE, and if you just tap on that icon when you're parked, you can it'll basically search for access points, Wi-Fi access points. And once you see obviously your modem's access point, you just tap on it and put in the password, and then it will connect. What you can sometimes see is if you don't have Wi-Fi, the car will still notify you that there is an incoming software update. And what it'll do is it'll show an amber, I think it's a horizontal line with an arrow facing downwards, sort of pointing down towards the line, which is implying like a download. If you do see that as you're driving out and about, it means there's an update that's ready to be downloaded, but that the car is waiting for it to be connected to Wi-Fi. Another method you can do if you just can't get Wi-Fi at your home or to the car is you can tether the car from your phone. So, for instance, if you do see this amber download symbol and you don't have Wi-Fi at home that the car can see, just share Wi-Fi from your phone. You can actually even do this while you're driving. I've actually shown that it works while you're driving, or parked or charging, doesn't matter. Just tether your phone to the car, and then it will download. And then that icon will actually turn green as it starts to progress the download. But most of the time, if you've got Wi-Fi connected properly, you'll just wake up in the morning and you'll see that there's an icon, or actually it even shows on your phone too, sorry. Your phone will also show that there's a download that's ready to be installed. And of course you can schedule the download, the installation either at night time. I think it normally suggests 10:30 at night, something like that, as an automatic sort of suggestion. But you can actually change it to install now. And what you'll notice is if you do it in the car, when you hit install now, it'll say installing in 2 minutes. But what you do is if you incessantly tap on that minute timer, it will then go down to 2 seconds and install the update straight away. But by the way, as it warns on the screen, the updates can take up to 45 minutes, but I don't think anyone's have taken that long for a long time. They're usually 20 minutes, half an hour tops. But getting back to Rob's original question, there really is no pattern to updates. Rollouts, I mean, I think, for instance, you, Nigel, had the Christmas update on Christmas Eve, I think it was, and Pete, for example, got his update on Christmas morning.
Yeah, so I got my update on Christmas Eve morning. It was installed before 10 o'clock in the morning.
There you go.
Mine was. Just a quick one on those updates, on the updates thing. Has anyone, I missed the very beginning, so I might be saying something that's already been up. Well, has anyone had the 22 update yet? Because there was supposed to be one out early 22. And I haven't seen
2022.5, I think, is the current one. I haven't got that.
No, I haven't either.
No, I've got a 2021.44.
Yeah, that's where I'm up to.
And by the way, for anyone curious, what it generally refers to is the 2021 is obviously the year. The 44 means the next number. Usually, basically means the number of weeks in the year. So it's the 44th week. And then after that, there's a 30, and I've got 2021.44.30.12. I think the 30 and the 12 are really sub revisions of that of a version. And also different makes of car, different models of cars can have different versions too. So it can be slightly different. But the first two letters are numbers after the year is the week in which that software was not written but compiled, I guess you could say, or approved as a version. Oh, and the other thing too is an update that I think only comes via Wi-Fi. Game updates that you get occasionally, and map updates. And the map updates in Australia seem to these days come once a year in about June. So usually when you see the navigation data, when you go into the software screen and it shows car details, it'll show your software version there on that screen, and also shows your navigation data. And I think if you look now, it currently says something like 2021.26 or 24. So it's the 24th or 26th week of last year.
So Harold, you telling me that it doesn't matter what suburb you live in? Like, Carmen that lives in Cadman Grove, she doesn't get her updates first before me?
Well, you see, in Mandurah,
it should be.
Because in Mandurah, Alex said that he had his updates stolen with his tyres. That's what Alex said to me. He said that.
Well, it's funny because there's lots of parts of Mandurah that actually have fibre to the premise because they did that for a short period of time. I guess perhaps that's because you then can't steal the copper in the cable. Perhaps fibre is not as valuable as copper. But
I'm staying in Wellard. I also have fibre to the premise, so probably why they did it.
In where?
Wellard.
Oh, they were testing in Wellard for that.
Yeah, must be.
Make sure it worked before. They don't do anything in Mandarin until it's working well in some other suburb, and then they do it.
That's it. So now, Carmen, sorry, you had something, you were going to ask something before Rob jumped in before you.
Oh, good evening. Yes, my seat belt, the car started beeping and all the doors were closed and I had my seat belt on and I couldn't work it out. And then realized that I had put large amount of shopping on my passenger seat. And it's also happened in the back seat that I've put a box or something heavy and the car wanted a seatbelt.
Yeah, they have sensors, weight sensors in the seats.
It tries to weigh you. I told you.
You just go into the seat and pull out the blue wire. And you'll be right.
There's weight sensors in the seat, so that's what it's detecting.
Subarus do it as well.
I think that's bloody rude, Paul.
That's actually fairly standard across most vehicles nowadays.
Weight
seat sensors.
Yeah, I thought I'd wrecked my son's car. Yeah.
I've even had that on the back seat where two people were in, and someone rested the hand on the middle seat, and it told me the middle seat needed a safety belt.
Yes. Do we know what the sensor is? Like, is it 20 kilos?
It's less than
I feel like it's pretty light.
I think it's more like 10.
Like, how many people that are 10 kilos are going to sit in your front seat?
Well, a child should not be in front seat.
Yeah, or maybe probably put your child in the back seat.
I think it must be much lighter than 10 because someone was in the back seat of my car and they had their handbag in the middle seat and it triggered the sensor.
Yeah,
the handbag wasn't 10, but I don't know. It's probably 2 kilos or something. I don't know.
Carmen's
probably needs some
very
work.
heavy. She's got a lot of bars of gold and stuff in her handbags.
Yeah, you never know what people put in their handbags.
I thought it was a brick.
Yeah, a brick of gold.
Yeah. It was shopping. My kids were returning and they're isolating. It was gross.
Harold, is there like a proposed like update, like a suggestion thing that we could get send to Tesla to say, you know what, actually this isn't working. I'm not saying we're the first people to ever think of this, but this is a problem.
So in answer to that, send an email to secretary@tokwa.org.au. So that's me basically. Or you can send it to info@tokwa.org.au and just put any suggestions and then we compile them. And then we have monthly meetings of Tesla. So it's something if it's obviously compelling and not trivial or something. We can push it up the line. But for Carmen's immediate problem, if you go to Tesseries, they actually for a whole $4.95 sell you basically a seatbelt insert. So you can then put that on the spare seat, which you have your shopping on, and it basically then defeats. Well, it tells the car the seatbelt is fitted. Now, obviously, this is only, you'd only want to have this in the car when you've got shopping, and then take it out once you've taken your shopping out, so that if a kid does sit on that seat, they are reminded to put a seatbelt on, or well, I guess if you're little kids.
Yeah,
Now
So
put it away.
So that's $4.95 from Tesseries. So you just go to tesseries.com.au.
You can save yourself the $4.95 and just buckle up the seatbelt, even if no one is sitting.
Yeah.
Well done, Willem.
Righto.
I think we could do better than that. Hey, Harold, I have a very embarrassing story. Like I got my Tesla, and about a week later, I scratched the rim. Right, like.
You're not alone, Scott. Trust me.
Nah, you're not.
Fully scratched the rim. Yeah.
My wife did.
Okay, so I appreciate that.
I tell you.
Yeah, well, I did mine, so I'm not gonna blame my wife on that. But
always blame wife.
Yeah, well,
yep. Especially when she can't hear you.
I love my
exactly, but she's in the
so I'm gonna do that.
Scott, you do what I did.
And I wanted to.
No, Scott, I scratched one rim, so I went out and I scratched the other three, and they're all equal.
Okay. So, like, can you buy another rim?
Yes. So Scott, I went to Tesla at Scar Beach Road, and I paid $294, I think it was, and they replaced the rim with a brand new rim. Well, it was a rim that's been damaged that they've had fixed, and changed the tire over and put the tire on and did the tire pressure.
No way. I phoned them and they were like, "No, we don't do that."
Yeah, they do. They've got rims there in stock, ready to go. There was about 4 there when I was there. They're all wrapped up in plastic, and they've just been repaired by a panel beater or whatever. Now, to do that now is about $150 to repair it.
Yeah.
But the convenience is it was less than 20 minutes. It was done.
Yeah, right. That's what. That sounds. I phoned up and they were like, "Oh, get in touch with the Tesla Club," and at the time I had no idea how to do it. So
no, I think you'd have to go on the app or some shit, But you can do all this. Just roll up there.
There's also some rim guards that you can buy. One
no,
just but there's another one.
I don't want trainer wheels on my car.
Yeah, he just wants a fix.
I don't want trainer wheels on my car.
He's not retired. Scott's not retired.
I know I'm a shit driver, but I can afford to get it fixed.
Yeah. So what you do is that's what I did, and for $295, it was.
Yeah.
It was just done and dusted and moved on, and
Yeah, you could always just buy four spare rims, with tires, and just have it in stock.
You've been smoking some crack tonight, William. Something going on there, mate.
William's clearly got plenty.
Do you know how much?
He's clearly got plenty.
William, do you know how much?
I just want one. I just want one, brother. Not 4.
Do you know how much a rim is, William, on a Tesla Performance? It's a small child out of Cambodia. Let me tell you right now, it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
Can I come back to Carmen and her shopping? Because Carmen, I've just tried putting my shopping in the front. The front boot type thing, and it actually fits in there quite well. And I've only done it twice now, and it confines it so it doesn't rattle around, and it's better than putting it on the front seat.
Yeah, but
so you might want to give that a try.
Not big enough. Wasn't big enough.
Takes quite a lot of shopping.
Yeah. No, Carmen's got big shopping.
Right. Okay.
No.
Big shop. Lots of shopping.
It was only this time for my family who are isolating, and it's a family of 5.
Right, so it was a lot of shopping.
Sorry?
It was a lot of shopping then, yes. Yeah.
Yes, but not really, probably would be. But I've got the frunk full of emergency items that I don't use very often.
Yeah, right. And it's good because things don't roll around in there, do they? The way that they would in the boot.
It's very good.
Yeah.
You can put a case. You can put a case of Cab Sav just in case you're a bit dry on the road or something.
Carmen, you got like that blow up raft, that 10-man raft in the front there as well, still. In case you might need that.
Check your message, Harold.
I'm just processing it, Carmen. 2 seconds.
Organise that re-roof on our house, Harold, for next week. Get the date locked in.
I'm one to it.
Okay. Go away.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
Got
so
it.
Scott, I've got the answer for you for your rims. Andrew at Smart Finish. He's a mobile fellow. He comes out and does it, and it's only like a couple of $100 or $150. He's done a few owners.
Well, that's
So
pretty good. That's cheaper than
yeah.
what I paid.
Yeah, Smart Finish. I think he did it for $150 a rim or something.
What does he do?
Actually, Scott, I've got, you know what they say, prevention is better than cure. So
Yeah.
I've got
buy a car.
this. So I've got these are called orbitals. So they're a plastic cover and they go maybe about 2 or 3 mil further. So they actually cover the rim.
Yeah,
so,
but they don't look as cool, Pete.
Oh, excuse me.
No, they're okay if you're Nigel and you're going down to get the bowls, you know, but they don't look as cool as the.
I reckon they look sensational. I'm actually, and they're as good as the aero covers in terms of aerodynamics and range. But I'm actually thinking about spraying these the same color as the car and having them white rather than silver, and then we'll have white on white on white.
Is that
No,
is that called the Poverty Pearl White lineup?
That's it.
I think they look great.
The other alternative.
Hey, William, we're going to get your eyes checked as well as your hearing tonight. We're going to do a bit of a check on that.
No. I am due for new glasses. They arrive in next week, but these are also fine.
We're doing a braille course next week that you can actually feel it and see the difference.
So I've got a very controversial topic here.
Hang on, hang on 2 seconds, Scott. We'll just finish this bit off. The other thing you can do too.
Combination.
Well, sorry, hang on just 2 seconds, Scott. So just to finish off the
smart.
So Scott, just hang on. Well, you got delayed. Just hang on a sec. Okay, so just to finish off the thing about touching up damaged rims, whatever, that's one thing. But the other thing is if you've got touch-ups you need to do on your paint, you can get a product from Color and Drive. And as you can see on the actual animation, you just paint it on. I think it's a 2 or 3 step process. And that can also touch up any blemishes you've got. And they do have Tesla paint codes. And then actually, it just so happens that Carmen's set has finally arrived from Istanbul, and you can see it. You can see it right there.
Wow, looks good.
So there you go. From Istanbul, she tells me.
Constantinople.
What do they do
So,
there?
but not this.
Istanbul, they touch up.
It's Istanbul, not Constantinople.
It came.
Okay, sorry.
It came from Color and Drive, but that's who sent it, and it's taken nearly 3 months. So I reported it to PayPal, who credited me the amount, but it's just arrived yesterday.
Ridiculous.
Did you order that through Amazon?
No, through Color and Drive.
Oh, okay. I ordered it through Amazon. And I'm apparently going to get it tomorrow or something.
Yeah,
I've got a vacuum cleaner.
Ages.
I've got a vacuum cleaner coming from Sydney.
Scott had something anyway.
It was on the train. It was on the train about 3 weeks ago. So, and they said it'll be here in like 2 days. That was 3 weeks ago. Do you know about where that train is? Or is it?
Yeah, I saw it get saw the tracks being laid today. So
I was there with 100 workers. It was like 3 people there.
Actually, Jared, I thought it was on the back of that truck that whose brakes overheated at Border Village and burnt up. Sorry, so Scott, you were saying, please make your point or ask a question, whatever it was.
It wasn't a point. It was like a controversial question. To be honest with you, I really appreciate the phone number from this guy, because I've had a few people who've come to my house and quoted, and they've seen Tesla and they've seen, whatever, and they've just like it's been like $800 to fix the rim, and I'm like,
oh no,
no,
No.
it's like no. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's all right.
Not all Tesla owners are as rich as Jared is.
I live in Belmont. You're getting confused. I'm in Belmont. This is not. Carmen is the one that's in Peppermint Grove. not me.
I can see that server behind you. I don't know what that's storing, but it's seriously something fucking hectic. I reckon it's crypto.
It's all crypto.
But anyway,
It's mining in the background.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I reckon it's crypto.
Yeah, it's all mining stuff going on.
We'll talk about your Dogecoin later, but what do you reckon the best color combinations? Because I've seen a couple that I love. So my personally is like white outside, black inside, but I've also seen red and white, a bunch of other things that I think are pretty cool. So like, what's everyone's favorite color combination?
I had black on black because black was the free color when I got my car.
You cheap bastard.
I
was paid $2.5 grand for white, and now every bastard gets it.
Yep. He's not cheap. He's just got Scottish genes. That's all.
But
sorry, go Pete. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say the white on white I absolutely love because one thing I found is with the black interior, when it's sort of 40, 45 degree day, even with cabin overheat protection, the black interior gets hot. So you sit on it, be in the sun, and it gets hot. Whereas the white interior will get warm, but it will never get hot to the touch. So that's practical. And the white car is a lot cooler, I think, than the black car. So
can I ask you a question, Pete? The white car and the black car, which one goes faster?
The red one.
The red one.
That one goes faster. Doesn't that cool down quicker?
Yeah.
What's that?
If the black one goes faster, doesn't that cool down quicker?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
You would. Yeah. You definitely would think so.
But the wheels heated up. The wheels and the brakes heated up, so you get heat rising from underneath.
The gravitational pull on the black ones is always more.
Well, I've got white on black, and I don't have any problem with the temperature, but I keep the air on all the time.
Yeah,
good. That's clever. I like that. Yeah,
that's what I always do. 20 minutes
and
before you go somewhere, put the aircon on. Yeah.
What about the black roof? I found that I got mine just before we had that spate of 40 degree days, and I could just feel, the heat coming off the roof. So,
what can I do about? Can I paint the roof?
Well, I bought some sort of shade that has silver on the top, and then it's got a mesh shade, and I just received it the other day, and that is actually a great improvement.
Yes.
William, did you say paint the roof?
Yeah, paint it. Why can't I paint it?
We're getting you into a therapy quicker than you think, my friend.
Yeah, okay.
Paint the roof.
I get one of these spray cans at Bunnings, and I just.
Willem, it's glass, and it's got several coatings on it that cut out over 99% of UV and over 98% of the infrared.
So no need to spray it.
No, do not spray it.
No.
But
do not.
It was extraordinarily hot.
Just get the Tesla.
It does not get hot.
Mine does.
I agree, Nigel. It doesn't get hot. I don't.
No.
Hang on 2 secs. Look, when the car is parked in sun, the glass will get 50 degrees, whatever it wants to get to. It gets the interior temperature of the cabin. But as others have said, if you put your air conditioner on a few minutes before you get to your car, then that'll start cooling it down. And then as soon as you start driving, the glass above your head, the same as the windscreen, will get to roughly ambient air temperature. So on a hot day, it'll get to 40 degrees. But the fact is,
it takes 2 seconds to cool your car down.
Yeah. So the thing is, a lot of modern cars, they're going this way. They are all putting in glass roofs because it's got the advantage of being a lot stiffer structurally to have a glass roof, and it's cheaper to implement. But yeah, it does get hot at the start, but it does cool down. So, but you can also get go to Tesseries, and you can get a sunshade.
If you have a car, if you have a car that doesn't have a glass roof, it will still get to 70 bloody degrees in there if you park it in the sun. And
no, my Leaf is quite different. My Leaf is quite different.
I'm with you, Roz.
That's because leaves are on trees, and trees are great because they cool the environment. It stops the heat island effect.
The new model coming out, the Twig, is supposed to have new technology that's coming out. It's going to blow. They've done a deal with Ryobi. You tell me another car that can do 90 kilometers and mow the lawn.
Jared, you're barking up the wrong tree with that one. Get the car tinted with ceramic tints. I've had mine done, and it's really good, except for just over my head. I agree with Roz.
Well, I bought my sunshade from Harry, a Tesla in Perth, and it works perfectly. I don't even take it off in the winter. It's all good.
Wear a cap.
Can I just add something about what I've done personally?
It's cheaper.
Yes, go.
Yeah. So is that go for me? Yeah.
Yes.
Over the weekend, I got some Bunnings foil and put it over my Tesla, and I did all the measurements, comparing it with the Commodore that you can see in the background there, both in sort of basically with that foil on the front, it's just held on with some elastic, and it's just put under the rear boot. I would just put that down on the foil and just put elastic. It stays on pretty nicely. Wind doesn't seem to bother it too much. It reflects a huge amount of the heat. So basically, it's all silvered on that side, blue on the other side. It's just a builder's foil you get from Bunnings. The total cost of everything, including elastic, is about $40. It really makes a tremendous difference. The actual seat, and I'll show you the other end. Oops, sorry. I'll just give you a push the button here. And again, I'll just grab the other.
Hey, Peter, the foil doesn't scratch the paint, does it?
No, it's very soft. It's fiberglass. You can't rip it by hand. It's very soft, and the elastic is soft, and the I'm trying to just get the in the front I've got elastic and hockey strap hooks, but they're the plastic ones. You know, the set are soft, and you can put them over. And I think that seems to work okay. This is this is just the rear. It looks tidy because I haven't put it in very well. I'm trying to get myself out of the view. There's a little cutout so you don't interfere with the latch. You know, so you just put it down. It tightens that down so you can't pull it out. It's just got on the side of the rear window. You can just see a little tab of First, I'll get out of the way. I don't think so. Yeah. So there's a little tab where I just put to put the windows on vent. You slip them down a little bit. Just put the two tabs in, and you push the vent up. You know, close the vent system, and that locks those in. And then it's just over the wing mirrors. There's an elastic thing. I just put on with duct tape because it just has. But basically, when you actually did all the stuff on that, the actual seat temperature for the Tesla was. And this was the Tesla one. So again, I'll have to shift the other way. It was 40.9, and the Commodore one. This is at the seat temperature, and it's an equivalent setting of 61.8. So that's sort of whatever it was, 17 degrees or something different. So it makes a 17-degree difference, and it's even more dramatic when you actually point the UV temp thing up onto the roof, point up to the glass roof in the Tesla or the hard roof in the Commodore. And the Tesla was 45, and the Commodore was 67 degrees. And 67 degrees is just awful, you know, it's just
it's awful.
And the other interesting thing was when you walk around the front of the car, just sort of a bit of an aside, when you walk around the front of the car, you can really feel the radiation coming off. I thought, I've got to measure this. Now sunlight is like this time of the year about 95 kilolux, and I actually put my sensor there on the front you know, the trunk. And basically the temperature, the actual lux reading was there was 192. It's double actual set of sunlight. It's just sort of concentrated by the sort of the slope of the foil coming off there. Sort of it's a parabolic sort of mirror thing, and it just got so hot that the phone I was using, but lost its picture because of over temperature. My hand was really, really hot, and the sensor that I was holding is really hot as well. Anyway, but it really did make a big difference. And the other thing is about it, and this is all sort of a bit homegrown, but this is the other thing about it, is that is this what it folds up to? You know, you just roll it up, and it's a very simple thing. You just chuck it back in the car. So if you're out, because I remember someone talking about they're out somewhere hot, and the car was really getting hot. It was really unpleasant. They wished they'd have a carry. It might have been for you, Harold. They wish they had taken something to sort of cover or had some sort of shade sort of mechanism. But I reckon this would have worked really well. You can get into that 40 degree seat and not be too uncomfortable. You couldn't get in the Commodore. It was just terrible. So, and the other thing is you can get in and out of this. You open the door, get in and out. There's no restriction to the front door. It's not like a whole car cover, which wouldn't really help the seat. They help the heat, and so air can actually circulate under. And I think it really worked surprisingly well, actually. So yeah,
I think we learned two things from that. Peter's very smart, and we should definitely use the aircon before we get in our Tesla.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, anyone that owns a Commodore now has to actually live in Gosnells. They made that mandatory.
Yeah. But no, Peter, I think that's really exceptional experiment to do. I think it's interesting that you would do it knowing that you're able to turn the air conditioner on before you get in the car. But but also very helpful because most people aren't going to do that. So
I appreciate knowing that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah. Well, it's great to know. As a comparison, it's great to know. But I think at the end of the day, you would turn the aircon on, even if it was if you could turn the aircon in your Commodore, you'd probably do that too.
But the other thing,
and with the aircons, it takes a while for it to kick on, get to a strong. It feels like a bloody Dyson hair dryer on you, effectively. But if you have the aircon on for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something before you get in, then it seems to work a hell of a lot better. So that's another tip as well.
So say if I park my car there at shopping center, right, and I go and I leave my aircon on, say, for 3 hours or so, how much charge will that consume? I mean, is it significant?
Not a lot. Maybe 5%.
It at worst it uses, if it's a really, really hot day, it'd struggle to use as much as a kilowatt.
So that's almost nothing. So you might just as well leave
power.
It on. Just leave it on. And
yes, and you can do that either from your app or before you leave your car. You just open you just press on the temperature, and it'll bring up your air conditioning menu. And I do have that up here.
Put it on dog mode, and that'll fuck everyone up.
And then you can, I've done that with one of my 17-year-old kids. Put it on dog mode to make sure he can feel happy that the temperature's all right and his owner will be coming back soon. But you can just press. You can, and he loves it. He rolls his eyes every time. He doesn't wag his tail because he hasn't got one, but he rolls his eyes. So
not one that you can see in any case.
Problem is, as soon as I approach the car, it picks up my remote and it turns off dog mode. So I never get to see it. It's a bit like the fridge light on the inside. You never know if the light's on or not because you never know if the light turns off because you shut the door before it does that.
Harold,
but yeah,
just set your mobile phone to record and put it in the fridge. And you can record it and see if it doesn't turn off or not.
I tried that in the microwave and I couldn't get my phone to work after that.
Yeah, not the same as a microwave.
But yeah, there is a thing on you when you press the temperature icon, which this is an old menu, so this is slightly changed.
Oh, before version 11.
But you can just press on, and that will just keep the air conditioner on when you depart the car. Dog mode is really the same thing. It just has this cartoon character of a dog, and it says it's okay. It's 21 degrees. Yeah, it is 21 degrees here, and my owner will be back soon. And camp mode is a separate function that's intended for if you you basically want to camp in the car or next to the car, and it means the car won't lock. You can keep the air conditioner on, and it also keeps the interior lights off, I think, and the headlights are off. It's intended for parking and staying in one position, but it won't lock your car. Although if you're inside your car, you can then press the car lock, which I think the menus may have changed, but there is a lock just up here, like a
that's still
padlock.
there.
And that's still there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So coincidentally, we spoke earlier about hooking up your car to Wi-Fi. So if I just get out of this menu, you'll see that you've got the LTE symbol, which I described earlier. And when you click on that, it'll search for Wi-Fi, and then it'll bring up an access point, and then you can just tether onto it.
Right.
So there you go.
If a software update is downloading while I'm driving, and can I drive it while it's installing it?
No.
Oh, you'll die.
No, not while it's installing, but it will. You can drive while it's downloading. You can't actually tell it to install while you're driving. You've got to be in park. But it does warn you that once it's actually started, it really can't be stopped. So you basically can't drive your car for, let's say, roughly half an hour. So just make sure that you don't need your car for the next half hour while it's actually installing, because there is no effective way of actually getting a car to drive in that process.
And it'll also not charge during that time.
Yes, you can charge.
Charging comes and goes. It used to not charge whatsoever. I've done a few updates while charging, and it seems to sort of, you'll get the notification of charging interrupted a few minutes into it.
Not mine. Mine charges while I download.
Oh, downloading, yes, but when it's actually installing, it'll charge. It'll actually interrupt charging for a period of time, but as soon as the software has finished updating, it will resume charging. It means that, if you needed to charge for an hour and you started the software update now, you might miss out on 20 minutes of charging time, but it will resume automatically.
And it works similar with the aircon, for example, and other things. So yeah, if you've left the aircon on while you did the update, it will leave it on, but then it will come off. It will turn off for a while and then it will come back on. So obviously, while the car is updating a part of the car that's got something to do with the aircon, it knows to turn it off, and similar with the charging.
So therefore, don't leave dogs or kids in a car that's updating.
Yeah.
Installing the software update, because the aircon won't necessarily function for many minutes, and as we all know, the cars can get hot very quickly.
Harold, can you talk about the Starlink thing?
Yes, actually, just hang on 2 seconds, Pete. I want to say hello to a gentleman that's actually left us.
Alex,
apologies for not getting to you sooner. Oh no, Dave. Sorry, Dave. Welcome. I noticed, Dave. I think you've just joined us lately. So welcome.
Alex,
yeah, I joined lately. And I've got a question.
Yes, go, shoot.
Who's the expert electrically? I have a 20 amp socket in my garage. The Tesla comes with a 15 amp plug and a 10 amp plug. The 15 amp plug will fit in the 20 amp socket, but it still charges at 7 amp.
No, it shouldn't. Okay, so you've plugged.
I know it shouldn't, but it does.
No. Okay, so there are. You've got 2 plugs, as you said, and I'm just struggling to find the one I had here.
It could also be.
Harold. So what you should first do is plug in the 10 amp tail first, and you may find that that'll charge at 8 amps because there is a bug in the way that Tesla has produced these. Now, the way you resolve it is you either wait, say if your car is quite low in state of charge, you just wait until it gets to, you set your slider to say 50%. Wait for it to get to 50%. Now, I'm not exactly sure whether it works all the time, but once the car is plugged in but not actively charging because it's gotten to the state of charge it wants to get to. So going back here, if we go to the charge icon, you can set the limit between 50% and 100%.
Yep.
So say in this case, see how the car is at roughly 60%. So if you set the slider to below what the car currently is at, then if you, for instance, just sat in your car, it would start charging if you had the air conditioner on. And what it would do is it draws enough mains power just to supply the energy required for air conditioning. But it won't actually charge up your battery. It'll just keep your battery at the level that it currently is. So if you go back and set the charge limit to less than what the battery already is and leave it plugged in for, I don't know the amount of time, but say an amount of time, let's call it minutes or maybe a couple of hours, the car should tell the universal mobile connector, the little portable charge unit, to reprogram the tail to tell it to supply 10 amps. Now, the same will apply for the 15 amp tail. That's many people with 15 amp tails are getting 12 amps instead. And the same applies. You plug it in, but set the slider to a level that's less than your current battery pack, and then the car should reprogram the tail. The other possibility is perhaps you may have been changing the current, the charging current, because you've sort of been fiddling with it. And if you can set the charging current to a lesser amount than the tail would otherwise supply. And people also, you can fiddle with it on your phone app. If you go into the charging section and you are currently plugged in to charge, you can change the current. And it seems, I don't know if the different versions of software are getting any better, but the way in which you can increase or decrease it is a little bit flaky and it doesn't always take properly. You might be able to set the current up, but then you'll find a few moments later it's gone back to where it was. It seems to almost prefer to take the lesser currents that you've selected than if you decrease it, it seems to always decrease. If you increase it, it doesn't always do that. But anyway, so the best way to conclude it is you'll actually see when you're charging, you'll actually see two amounts. There'll be like 16/16, which means 16 out of 16 or 15 out of 15 or whatever. But it's if you see two numbers and they're the same, then it means that that's the maximum you can do according to that charger. If the second number is higher than the first number, it means that you've actually selected a lower number and you've got to hit the plus button. But try that experiment, Dave. But you're definitely dead right. You're even more fortunate than many of us, where you've got a 20 amp standard outlet, which, as you'll know, has fatter earth pins and active and neutral pins, but you can absolutely plug in a 15 amp plug into that 20 amp socket, and you can plug a 10 amp plug into that 20 amp socket, which is awesome. So with that full 15 amps, you'll be able to get the best part of, I think it's well over 20 kilometers of range per hour, which is not too shabby.
Well, at the moment, using my phone amp, I can choose between 7 amp and 8 amp. On the phone amp, that's all it'll give me.
Yeah, so that would be on the 10 amp outlet, I presume, the tail. Just check that your 15 amp tail is a 15 amp one, that it's got the thicker earth pin, because I have heard of people getting either two 15 amp tails or two 10 amp tails by mistake. So just check
I've already checked that. Yeah.
Yeah. So just do that trick I described of plugging the car in and charging it, but charging it at a lesser level than the battery already is at, and that will hopefully reprogram that tail fairly quickly.
I'll have a go at that first thing tomorrow. Thank you.
And please let us know next week if you can come, if you feel like coming back, and let us know how you went and see if it was successful. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 Teslas to play with, so hopefully one of them will accept it.
2 Teslas?
Probably be my wife's, not mine.
Fantastic. Congratulations on being fully electric. That's awesome.
Double Tesla.
Yeah, on the
2
topic
taps. That's awesome.
on the topic of charging, I've installed a Tesla wall charger in my garage, and my friend came over the other day and we tested it out on his car, and we couldn't get more than 16 amps showing on the charging screen, and I couldn't figure out why. But
No, that's totally correct. It's totally correct.
I have 3 phases, and it's 16 amp per phase. That's how.
That's right. So that's 11 kilowatts. That's the maximum that a Model 3 can absorb. There are cars, for instance, Rob's car can pull 32 amps 3-phase, but he's got an older car with the older-fashioned dual chargers. My Model X can draw 17 kilowatts, so that's 24 amps per phase. But no, the fact that your friend was drawing 16 is perfectly correct. So that's completely correct. Now, incidentally, if you had a single-phase house, you would then connect the charger to 32 amps single-phase, and that's the most that a Model 3 or actually any Tesla can draw, and that's about 7.6 kilowatts. The 16 amps 3-phase that your friend was drawing, the 11 kilowatts, will charge a standard range Model 3, or these days just called a Model 3, at about 83 kilometers per hour. And the single phase version will do it at roughly 55 kilometers an hour.
Okay, cool. And these portable tails that plugs into 3-phase, like
no, yeah, go on, yes.
Will that also charge at 11 kilowatt?
No.
If you plug it in 3-phase?
Well, it depends. It depends which one you're referring to. If you're referring to the one that plugs into the UMC, the portable little charger that plugs into the Tesla charger.
No, I'm not referring to those. I'm referring to aftermarket chargers that you get that is 3-phase compatible.
Yep. Yeah, so there is a thing, for instance, a cons charger, or a juice booster. I'll just bring up this website very briefly. Just got to find the right one.
While you're looking, Harold, is that another Sapphire with a Tesla?
Sorry, say again, Ant?
I said, while you're looking, Harold, is that another Sapphire with another South African with a Tesla out here?
Yeah.
Ah, good on you.
Johannesburg.
Lekker.
All right, so this is the one that you're referring to. So this will actually charge. It can actually pass 32 amps. Which is 22 kilowatts, but obviously a Model 3 can only draw 11 kilowatts. Now you'll notice this is shown on evse.com.au, and it's shown there at $1,395. If you're a member, if you're a member of a financial member of TOCWA, you can buy it from the club for $750.
Wow, that's a very good price.
So that's a fairly sizable discount for the whole $20 that it costs for an annual financial membership of TOCWA.
Yeah, I'm a member. I am a member.
Yes. So you can certainly purchase one of those units. This unit here. Now, obviously, there's a couple of use cases. If you go sort of in the country and you want to use various 32 amp outlets in the regional areas, that's a great use case. However, you can also borrow these chargers from the club for free for road trips. So if it's only sporadic use, you can borrow it for free. If you're, let's say, if you're renting a place, or one alternative is you can get an electrician to fit a 32 amp 3-phase socket in your garage, say, and you could plug this unit into it.
Yeah,
And I guess you've got the advantage then you could then take it with you for a road trip, because these things are intended to be taken with. Some people have bought, go on with it, get going, Willem.
Yeah, I have buyer's regret now because I bought the Tesla wall charger. And if I bought this mobile one, it would do exactly the same job, and it's mobile. So I literally, I now have buyer's regret. I wish I didn't bought the Tesla wall charger.
Oh, look, I actually think, no, there are still a couple of advantages. The biggest killer advantage is the fact that on your Tesla wall charger, you've got a button on the top of the handle, and with that, you can do two things. If you press the button before you've plugged the car in, it'll open the charge port flap automatically. And when it's charging, or when it's finished charging, when you press the button when it's plugged in, it'll unlatch the charge port, and then you can take the cable out, or the plug out. So those just that feature alone is hugely more convenient than having to fiddle with your phone app, or jump into the front of the car and unlatch with your touchscreen. Although, by the way, if you want to plug your car in and open the charge port door, you can just also open it, providing it's unlocked, by just gently pressing on the bottom part of the flap, and that will then sense that and then open the flap.
Can I just can I ask Willem, how did you have the HPWC, your wall charger, installed? Was it with a socket, a 32 amp socket on the wall, or is it wired in? Because if it's
hardwired,
no, it's wired in. It's wired in. It has an isolated switch, and it's wired in directly into the DB box.
Okay. Because if you did have it attached to a socket, you could have just picked it up, and used it as a portable charger on the road. So that's what I would have done.
The only caveat there, Ant, is that in the room there is a gentleman that did just that, and when he was at, I think it was Halls Creek, it failed, because the Tesla wall connector is really not designed as a mobile device. So dragging it around in the front or the back of your car, rattling around on road trips is not its intended designed purpose. So you do take the risk of early degradation. But if you're looking after it, by all means, it does absolutely work. Absolutely. But coincidentally, it's permitted to do this in Australia at the moment, but in New Zealand, it's actually illegal to have an EVSE that's plugged into a wall, into a socket. It has to be hardwired. So in Australia, I think there might be a narrow window of opportunity where that still is permitted, and quite shortly that loophole is going to be closed, where high power EVSEs, the chargers, must be hardwired for new installations.
But then you can't use the mobile one then, or not?
No, the mobile one is permitted because it's, well, I've got to look at AS3000 to check that. I think it might be if they're intended to be wall mounted. If it's like a wall mounted unit, it has to be hardwired and not attached to a plug into a socket.
Yeah, well,
But I haven't.
The Tesla won't honor their guarantee on the wall charger if it's not installed by an electrician and it's not hardwired.
Well, yeah, indeed, because
that is the installation instructions, and if you don't install it, they will not honor their warranty.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually just going to try and dig out AS3000 But anyway, so in the meantime, before I get to that, anyone else got any other questions or comments?
About Starlink. Oh, sorry, you go, Pete.
Oh yeah, so Starlink. So yeah, Pete, you're going to talk about
This is all over the
Starlink.
news at the moment. The 49 satellites went up just recently on the last thing.
Oh yeah.
The solar storm, which was said not to be one that's going to affect satellites, but it heated up the atmosphere and and it made them. But they were still in low Earth orbit at 210 kilometers, and so they had too much drag. So it wasn't actually an electromagnetic thing that sort of crashed the electronics. It was just a drag thing. They tried to put them sideways so just to make it less drag, but having done that, they just didn't have enough energy to put it back. So all those are sort of doomed, and they think they're going to lose about 40 of them to break up in the atmosphere, and that's it. So that's a bit of a sad ending to those things. But it wasn't an electronic thing by the sound of it. It was just a heating of atmosphere and drag thing just at an inopportune time before they got up to proper orbit.
Yeah, and they're worth about $1 million. I think they're worth
relationships over the years.
Sorry,
I've had the same problem with some of my relationships over the years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Satellites
What,
always
crashed
go
and
down.
burned.
Crashed and burned. Catch on fire.
Did you notice in the actual page on their website, they actually explained in some detail that they deliberately actually put them in precariously low initial orbits, literally for the purpose that if any fail, they will automatically basically deorbit very quickly for any sort of failure. And they actually put upon themselves an extra burden of having to boost them to to have each satellite be able to boost itself to the 550 kilometer proper orbit. So all kudos to SpaceX for making their satellites intrinsically safe, basically. But yeah, it's pretty sad because I think each one of those satellites is worth about $1 million. So they've done a bit of dough.
And these are the ones with the lasers.
Lunch.
Yep.
Yes, I believe so. I think all of the new ones now are all laser interlinks.
Yeah, they're all version 2.
Is anyone using this network, and is it fast?
I've spread out.
No,
So-
it is. No that I know anyway.
Probably faster than NBN.
It just so happens that
Nigel is.
oops. This is my Starlink right now, and these are the stats. So I've actually had no outages in the last 12 hours, which is pretty cool. And I don't think I can do a speed test because I don't have the router connected, but I can actually. It does about, well, I mounted a dish on the back of my car, and drove it down the freeway and got a screen capture, and it was doing 200 megabits per second down the freeway. And obviously at home it does the same speed. So it's roughly 200 megabits per second, plus or minus about 50 megabits per second.
Harold, have you noticed that it has slowed down in the last week? Because I was getting 250 to 320 megabits per second download. I'm now in the 150 to 220 bracket. I think I did get a 280 once yesterday.
Yeah, right. Actually, I'm just going to try and do
And that's on speedtest.net. And
yes,
also that's through my VPN.
What router are you running, Harold? The Dream Machine?
Yeah, I've got the Dream Machine. I'm just trying to get it to start up, and it's not wanting to do it at the moment. The internet thing's been a little bit strange. Not the internet, sorry, the Dream Machine. That's on the local network. But I've actually gotten, the other day I got 290 megabits per second, and that's through the computer itself sucking on the internet, not Starlink's sort of, when you do a speed test through your mobile phone, it's sort of slightly different. But yeah, it does. But you're right, Nigel. It does change a bit. I I mean, I've had it as slow as sort of 100
The other
and
thing
something
is that
megabits per
ping
second.
times are over 100 milliseconds now.
Oh no, mine are these are live pings, 67, 70. I've been fairly solid at about 70 milliseconds. And incidentally, that's actually because of the way Starlink are deciding to I'll just bring up a different web page. I think it's called space.sx. It looks like this. No, it's starlink.sx. And once this loads up properly, you can actually see why the ping is so slow is because over here, this triangle is the point of presence. So this is actually where Starlink basically connects to the internet, for want of a better term. So even though we've got all of the we've got Wagen, Cataby, Meriden, and Bullabulling ground stations. So, for instance, at the moment, Perth's there. My dish is talking to this Starlink 2237, which is actually linked to the Meriden ground station. And this is connected via Vocus fiber optic cable. But all of the traffic from that's coming to me is being routed to Sydney first and then out to the internet. So really, and that's why the ping is 70 milliseconds, because it's the time it takes. It's the time it takes for light to go from Perth to Sydney, basically through the network, and then it comes. So, for instance, if we're all living in Perth, and most people are on NBN, all of my internet, all of this Zoom traffic is going from Perth to Sydney and back, and that's why my ping is 70 milliseconds. The reason why I know that is for a while, New Zealand was actually their point of presence was set as California or something ridiculous. So they had huge pings. They had multiple 100 millisecond pings. But now their point of presence is actually in Sydney. So eventually Starlink will probably have a point of presence in Western Australia, and then our pings will less than halve or more than halve.
Yeah, according to my app, my latency has been between 67 and 219. And that 219 was just recently.
That will be a maximum. So when you get really shitty internet, the pings go through the roof. So you're right. It's
currently 73. Sorry, now 75, 76. That's the current one through the app.
In fact, you probably can't see it very well, but just there's a spike. See a little spike in that middle row?
Yeah.
That spike was 169 milliseconds ping. So
the other thing is the speed test on the app. Without clicking it, just as it's doing it, I did get 369 down and 48 up.
Wow. Did you get a screenshot? Did you get a screenshot?
No, that
screenshot it.
It's intermittent one, that underneath the latency graph, it's got the graph of usage, and it said 369. I'm going, yeah, that would be all right.
You beat me, Nigel. I had 363.
Oh, sorry. But when I tested it with speed test, 242 down and 32 up.
I had 207 up was my highest upload.
How much up?
207.
Upload?
Wow.
Upload. I just took a screenshot just then. I'll share it if you like.
I thought it was limited to 30 or 40.
Obviously not. Let me see if I can. I just did it on my mobile, so I just got to try and Talk amongst yourselves while I do it.
But I mean, even so.
Yeah.
it's
So
still twice as
Wilhelm,
fast.
in answer of your original. Oh, sorry. Go, Nigel.
No, I was just saying, it's still twice as fast as what I was getting before. And the ability to contact these people, Starlink, for a query is just as bad as my previous ISP, and that was impossible.
Yeah.
It's almost
the
as
only
good
way I ever
as
got to actually talk to them was not pay the bill for 2 months, and they'd phone me up.
207. Wow, that's impressive.
And that was while
That is
Siri was trying to do something, as you can see the icon down the bottom.
Wow.
So that was literally right then, and I'm using Starlink for this Zoom session as well. So yeah, not bad.
I'd like to say hello
That's
to
awesome.
Nigel Saunders. Hi, Nigel.
How you going?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Joe.
Yeah, so Wilhelm, in answer to your original question, yes, Starlink's awesome. But look, to
great.
be honest, it's on balance, NBN is slightly cheaper. It's obviously slower at 100 megabits per second if you have, say, fiber to the premise or a very close fiber to the node connection. Starlink is a little bit fragile. It does go down every now and then. I've had losses for like minutes, or certainly ones. I mean, tonight it hasn't happened yet. I haven't noticed it yet, but every now and then I will lose internet. So everyone, for you, I will freeze, and for me, all of you will freeze for a few seconds, perhaps, and that can happen a couple of times an evening.
It's still in beta
But-
though, correct?
I mean,
No, it's out of beta, but it's
Oh, is it?
still the constellation is nowhere near complete. I mean, it's good enough. It's worldwide coverage mostly, but you know they've only got 2,000 satellites up at the moment. They are planning to have in their final format will be 40,000 satellites. Oh, and incidentally, there was a bit of news. They are now offering a premium service for.
Oh yeah.
I think it was up to 500 megabits per second, and it's $500 a month. So
And
it's
it's
pretty horrendously
$2,500
expensive.
to buy it.
Yes. So obviously you'd have to be you just don't do it. But if you're a mining site somewhere in a remote area, then it's a no-brainer, obviously. But I think they said that at its slowest guaranteed speed for this expensive version is slower than the fastest normal speed on the cheap version. So it really makes little sense. You're paying, it was at 4 times, 5 times the amount of money for not even a doubling of performance.
Richard
still,
Chapman, how's his going? Is Richard Chapman still there? Because he got Starlink right at the start. Richard, you there? Richard Chapman? Again?
He is, but he's lurking.
Yeah, he's doing like Joe. He's in the witness protection program. Oh, here he is. Look at him. There he is.
Yes, I was.
He woke up.
He's just got him up going. Why are you and Pete having a bit of a showdown on who's going to be prisoner of the year? Is that what you're going for, you two guys? Like all this growth on the face.
The idea.
Inmate number 2.
207 megabit megabit up. That's impressive. That's epic.
Yeah, it was just a one-off. It was journal up. It was a stolen police car, and it was just a one-off. Don't worry.
One hit wonder.
One hit wonder. Exactly.
Anecdotally, so many people at work have ordered it. Nothing to do with my influence, but some of them have. But I mean, because I work for technology, it does make sense. But yeah, people are coming out of the woodwork and saying, yeah, we're all good on it. So yeah, it's just taken off.
Now, how does it work? Do you have a portable dish as well, so that you can just sort of put it wherever, or you have to put it outside?
Yes,
to see the stars, or
it's on a little triangle stand, like feet. that's sort of spread out about. Yeah, it's like on a tripod. Yeah, like it's got 3 legs and a shaft that plugs in, and the dish is just self-standing on a flat surface. So at an absolute minimum, you can just stand it in your backyard, and it will work. Obviously, you can mount it. I personally just got a U-bolt, actually, well, 2 U-bolts from Bunnings, and I just mounted it on top of my TV antenna post, and just put it on the top of the roof. And others have, the actual feet have got mounting holes, so you could then, say if you've got a tin roof, you could just tech screw it straight to your roof effectively. And I've seen people with sandbags, and you just plonk it anywhere it'll sit. You don't even have to, because the actual dish has 2 motors, one that changes the angle up and down, and the other one changes the rotational position, sort of clockwise or anti-clockwise. And basically, it will point itself automatically to where it wants to go, which is generally in a southerly direction. So it's all completely automatic. Yeah, so you could have a temporary installation. I mean, it's great. I'm actually renting a house, or I've rented a house, and one of the questions I was going to pose is, well, do I bother to connect internet? And I've got a spare dish, so I'm just going to plonk that there, and the kids can use that because it's 200 megabits per second, and it's completely portable.
So do you have a wire to your dish, or is it just Wi-Fi?
There's I think it's a 15-meter cable. There's a 15-meter length of Cat5 cable. So I think Australia is still getting the old round dish, the old version. So that has about a 15-meter length of cable. And then that plugs into a power over Ethernet injector. So it's like a power supply, which has 2 connections. There's one for the dish and one for Starlink's router, if you want to use their router, or you can just plug it into your router, basically. If you use Starlink's one that comes for free with the dish, is included, it's got its own. I don't know if it's version 6 Wi-Fi, but it's a fairly fast internal Wi-Fi, and it also has its own Ethernet port and output port, so you could also plug that into a router if you wanted, or you can just use your own router.
Okay, sounds good.
But again, look, personally, if what you want is, well, if you live in Perth, and you've got good NBN, buying Starlink is really more because it's a great way to see awesome technology at work, but the boring old NBN is probably a more stable service for the time being. Although having said that, we had friends just around the corner where they'd lost internet because I think there was a fault at the exchange or something like that. And of course, the satellite one was uninterrupted and uninterruptible because you've got multiple ground stations that, you've got redundancy basically and multiple satellites. But still, having said that, we regularly get outages, short ones, but I mean, Nigel and Richard, you've no doubt had quite a few outages, sporadic ones, little ones, or sometimes bigger ones.
Yeah, I was watching Netflix last night and got the and several times. So it had obviously got a few hiccups there. But as like you, I really haven't had much in the way of outages today.
Well, as you can tell with this Zoom session, that's probably the most testing or most demanding reliability test, because if latency goes out the window, everything messes up, and there's quite a bit of video being sent backwards and forwards, so it's a pretty harsh sort of test of the technology. And I mean, I've got it, Nigel's got it here today, and Pete, are you on it at the moment?
I am. Yep. The whole
Yeah.
time.
Yep. I mean, I think if we tried to have a very quick conversation, you could possibly notice the extra ping, because it does start making a bit of a difference. If you add, you know, 2 lots of 72 milliseconds together, it does become a little bit laggy, but it's still awesome technology.
Yeah, and
Well,
I'm running mine through a VPN, so from my computer through a VPN.
There's another aspect to it, Harold, because we're in exactly the same position. Sorry, the exact case that you gave the example of, that, you know, we actually had a very good, or a relatively very good NBN connection, but part of it was that while it's probably slightly less good service than that was, well, there's a philanthropic side to it, in that, you know, in a very small way, we're contributing for to a human civilization on Mars. So you know, if there's value in that, then great. But the other side of it is that there's only a limited amount of coverage and of allocation of places. So unless we jumped on board now, you know, it might be a long time before we could actually get coverage. And
Yes,
I kind
you
of
basically bought
also,
yourself an early ticket. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But you know what? Yeah, the coverage is a bit ropey at the moment, but this is as bad as it's going to get. And just like pretty much everything that Musk develops, it's like, well, here's the product now, but it will get better, and it will get better for the same price. And you know, once these satellites with interlaser communication come online, you know, we're essentially talking about a global mesh network, you know, in orbit. So, you know, we won't even need to interact with ground stations eventually. It'll just be, well, not many, not like we do now, where we just go up and then down to our closest ground station. We'll go up, and then that signal will stay in space, you know, not interact with the atmosphere, and then just come down wherever, and then interact with whatever ground station is nearest to the PC, to the computer that you want to get to. So it's kind of an investment in the future of where this is going.
Yes.
So there's a few reasons to sort of jump on board now, while it's not necessarily, you know, as good as what else you had. But you know, there are other technologies that, you know, you could get faster internet. So like there seems to be quite a growth in point-to-point consumer microwave offerings that I've seen advertised and that friends have done. So, you know, you could just get a roof-mounted point-to-point microwave link and potentially get, you know, gigabit internet. So, but it's like, well, yeah, we could do that, or, you know, we could sort of, you know, invest in sort of the future of communication around the earth. So, but yeah, I think the thing is, for us in WA, once we actually have maybe a server farm, or however they're going to do it, but once all our traffic is routed via Perth, I think our latency will go way down. So I think it's pretty rough now, but it won't be like that forever.
There you go.
Absolutely.
You've
And in
just gone and upset my internet, you bastards. I've just had several minutes of outages.
I pointed.
Yes, you did. We noticed, because you froze just as you were explaining how good it was. You just totally froze.
Someone put the mockers on it, you bastards.
I pointed my dish at yours and interrupted its 5G.
As you know, Elon actually watches us live, and I'm sure he had on his phone, he whizzed up SpaceX and said, "Can you just interrupt Nigel's service for a couple of minutes?"
I put in that request all the time.
Well, the time anyway.
The thing with the ping too is, when SpaceX does have the laser interlinks, they will actually be able to send internet traffic faster than fiber optic cable, because the speed of light in a fiber optic cable is 2/3 the speed of light in a vacuum. And even though it's got to go up 500 Ks or whatever, and then ultimately go down another 500 Ks or so, it's still quicker. So they could actually be faster in the fully evolved system than even fiber optic cable, which is the gold standard.
I've deployed fiber optic backbone transmission networks in the Pilbara, and it's kind of amazing that, you know, it wasn't many years ago that I thought, well, this is the fastest way of getting a signal from, say, Port Hedland to Newman, and and now this comes along. I'm like, wow, that's nuts.
And a terminal is so cheap, relatively, even if it's $3,000. You know, the real cost.
Yeah, I don't know how they're making phased array antennas for that price. It's just because incredible.
Well, it's next level. It's just as you know, Elon Musk. Oh, firstly, how did they make a rocket that lands back onto Earth without blowing up? You know, how do you make a car that can do 500, 600 Ks, you know, with its own batteries? Yeah, it's just what Musk does.
Probably the greatest.
How do you drill a tunnel?
Here's going to be the question.
Oh, see you, Nigel.
See you, Nigel.
Bye, Nigel. See you. Yep. Take care. Good to see you. Stay safe.
It's kind of sad with us humans that someone has to die before we really reflect on, you know, their true contribution to society. Will Musk be remembered as the most profound engineer that ever lived? Who knows?
I think he has to be, hands down. He has to be, because he's a master of at least 4 disciplines, or let's say 3. I mean, he's single-handedly, or well, not single-handedly, but been the visionary for the most important electric EV car manufacturer on Earth. The most profound rocket. He's transformed the rocket business. He's getting into Neuralink, and that's not even started yet. Basically,
No.
that you know, imagine if you have paraplegia because of a broken spinal cord. Imagine if that could be effectively cured. I mean, that's and even worse if you're a tetraplegic.
Yes, yeah.
You know.
Well, look, you know,
imagine that.
I mean, in a profound way as well. Look, we're all going to go gaga and go. So, you know, a technology that can maybe give you better quality of life for however many more years, or extend that life. I mean, gee, that gets us some deep philosophy there as to whether that's you know, where that goes.
And look at James Watt, who got a unit of measure named after him, because he basically brought upon the Industrial Revolution as a means of external power for machinery. Well, Tesla is going to do the Tesla bot, which when that works, can transform menial labor. You know, so we'll all end up being on what do you call it? Not a social wage. What's it called? Minimum.
I know what you mean. Something income.
Basic income. No. I forget what they call it, where everyone just gets paid money from the government because
universal basic income.
Yeah, universal income. Yeah, universal basic income. Yeah, because you're not going to do street sweeping or digging holes or laying bricks. Oh, bricklaying. I mean, I know there are people are building effectively 3D printed houses. You know, extruding sort of cement slurry or whatever, but you could just have a bricklayer working 24/7.
Yes,
you know,
we get into some very murky waters here, where you know, well, what you're going to do with your, you know, relatively low skilled people, and also, you know, bricklaying is an art as well. It's you know, you know, what happens when you sterilize it, or do you just move the artist to the person behind the CAD drawing? You know, it's.
Yeah, so that's very profound. I mean, Musk has got to be the most revolutionary single human being that's ever lived or died, ever.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm biased. I don't have any ability to be.
Well, he's got very high ethical standards as well. and he likes to get things right and improvement, a chain of improvements right along.
Yes.
So his standards are fantastic.
It's
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's just so profound. It's if any one person had been responsible for SpaceX, and a different one for Tesla, and a different one for Neuralink, and a different one for robotics, and a different one for tunneling, they would all be remarkable individuals. But the fact is, it's all one guy. You know, and as Pete has mentioned some weeks ago, you know, in Ashley Vance's book, it's described well that Musk went to Russia to buy an intercontinental ballistic missile because he figured that if he could just go and buy one, it's easier than building one. And you know, and you know, 2 decades later, it's, you know, it's the largest. I think this year SpaceX are slated to launch 2/3 of the world's payload to orbit with just one company. It's just bonkers. But yeah, so Richard, it'll be good to, if once Starlink pull their finger out and move coverage up to the Pilbara. You know,
oh yeah.
how good would that be for even just as failover redundancy?
You know, we're looking at, yeah, exactly, and we're looking at that seriously at that, and if we're looking at it, other people are as well. But just, you know, the profound change in internet services for aircraft and shipping, you know, gigabit internet anywhere on the, you know, on the surface of the earth apart from the very far poles, and I think even there's going to be a bit of coverage. Just crazy. Like, that's going to change everything. And it's actually, Starlink is just for a country like Australia, where we're relatively wealthy, but very spread out, and with huge areas where there's not much. Yeah, it's a technology that can actually get gigabit internet out into the middle of the Pilbara, or out into the middle of the bush anywhere. That's profound.
Well, even for shipping, you know, for ships in the middle of the ocean where there's very little coverage. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you can be a sheep farmer or cattle rancher or whatever in the middle of nowhere and get better internet than people in a capital city.
It's I mean, the power of someone in a village somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa being able to get their phone out, take a picture of, you know, a fungus that they've not seen before on one of their crops, upload that on an image search and say, yeah, this is what it is, and here's a local, cheap, cost-effective way of getting rid of it. I mean, that's just incredibly powerful. And I did like, I mean, you know, with the Tonga eruption, because one of my colleagues is a Cook Islander, and he's very keen on getting Starlink as soon as he can, and you know, with them setting up a ground station in Fiji to cover Tonga, he's like, oh well, I wonder if that might cover the Cook Islands as well. And it's a good 2,500 k's at least, but maybe it's possible. But anyway, that will certainly open up that coverage, you know, in a 1,000-kilometer radius around Fiji anyway. So, you know, theoretically,
it'll open up.
Oh yeah, I think you can get at least 1,000 k's, especially if they accept a lower angle of incidence. It's well over 1,000 k's radius away. I'll just try and get that that SpaceX Starlink.
And of course, the linking technology here as well is that once Starship gets flying, you know, and they can start launching, I don't know, hundreds of satellites with intersat links into orbit at a time. I mean, that will really kick into gear the Starlink project.
By the way, the Starlink thing in Suva is already operational.
Do you know, I checked that like must be a day or 2 days ago. I'm sure it wasn't there. Wow. Okay.
So they're calling it Suva emergency. I think it's, sorry, I just can't get this to be, oops, sorry, just messed it up. It was called, it did show up as Suva emergency. So it's already running.
Wow, that's bonkers.
Because all you need to do is just set up. Yeah. So if you just tell them Starlink.sx, it's an amazing setup.
This website has been forwarded through work quite a lot.
So you can actually see the satellites that are connected to, but of course a satellite, say this satellite here,
yes,
has got coverage all over there. So, and in fact, that's New Caledonia. So that's basically implying that New Caledonia has coverage.
Yep.
Well, not right this minute because there's like this shadow for some reason.
Yeah,
but it's getting coverage shortly.
I think the Cook Islands is going to get it. It's quite far out. I think it's that little speck of black to the right of your mouse now. I think that's it.
Right. Oh yeah, Papayete? No, that's
that's Tahiti. That's Tahiti.
Tahiti.
Oh, okay. I know then. Maybe it's south.
Cook Island. There you go, Cook Islands.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
If we go this, no, that's going to be tough because the Cook Islands look to be. It's
however,
somewhere there.
There is fibre. I think it's in a ring network. My way was saying all the way through those Polynesian islands. So they essentially, I think, all do have backbone connections to the internet through undersea cables. So there's nothing stopping Starlink putting base stations, putting ground stations on those islands. Just you're not going to get a huge amount of customers just yet, and it's how much money do you invest in putting ground stations in when you've got Intersat links that are going to be far more efficient and far cheaper. So it's probably not worth them putting that many more ground stations in. Only for perhaps areas like Pilbara. For now. I mean, if there was a ground station in Headland, in Port Hedland, then there'd be a lot of commercial customers, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm sure SpaceX are aware of it.
It must be.
You can just imagine it's just a matter of priorities for them. They're just trying to do stuff as quickly as they possibly can. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, they've already got the Suva, and it actually says emergency. So I guess, and in fact, they've probably learnt a lesson because I'm certain that they had to go and quickly build that or configure it or grab some stuff they were going to use and adapt it. But now they've done this once, they're going to go, well, we can containerize this solution. We can just have a C container, well, whatever, a package, like they have now with prefabricated supercharger stalls, where they have the power supply, in America it's the 4 stalls all on a prefabricated concrete slab that they just go and dump on a hard stand somewhere and hook up to power. No doubt they will now make quickly deployable by air ground stations. And they'll even have an uplink to one of the geostationary satellites. So you need obviously a geostationary satellite link. Or actually, no, Fiji. I think Fiji's internet's okay. So actually, all they need to do is pump it into tap it into the fiber.
Yeah, Fiji has a backbone connection to the internet. I think it terminates on most of the capitals around there.
Because it was obviously Tonga that had the issue.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, well, it even affected my my mates island, the Cook Islands, and maybe beached a couple of boats, and so yeah, the effect, I think we'll probably never really know the true extent of it.
No, exactly. So I mean, and the great thing about that sort of internet is that there's nothing that's going to affect it in space. So it can survive things like natural disasters where you can easily cut with earthquakes or landslides or other things. You can cut fiber optic links. They are fragile. So the satellite just flies over and doesn't care.
All of us, well, anyone in telecoms has to deal with the issue of things ripping up fiber cables.
Well, I don't know if you were on the show, Richard, when I think it was a couple of weeks ago when I described it at Cocklebiddy. An employee there was digging up some dirt to move to somewhere else. They needed some extra dirt for something. And of all the places he put his backhoe, he dug up the fibre optic cable, crossing the Nullarbor to Perth. And apparently 5 hours later, there was a helicopter. And then a bit later, there were vehicles. And the fine to the roadhouse was $50,000. And the bill to fix the cable was $120,000. So that cost him $170,000 just because and by the way, as well, if you do drive down the Nullarbor, you'll see these little white plastic posts every 200 meters, and they're in a very straight line. And it basically says fiber optic cable below.
The thing is, though, that like,
so yeah,
having been at the thin end of the wedge on this professionally, is that the original contractor, you're supposed to bury a cable at 1.2 meters, 1200 mil and 900 mil, and it's like, and they never are. And there's supposed to be 300 mil separation between them, if you've got two of them running in the same trench, and we all know that they're not. So we've I've had times when people have been doing perfectly entitled to dig where they were digging, and then they've ripped up the cable and broken it and felt awful because they did it, but they should have been fine because it should have been buried deeper.
And shouldn't it have? I know power cables have this, but shouldn't they have like a warning tape that's about halfway up?
So that you know that where it is. It should have that too.
300 off.
But it depends.
So if you're watching what you're digging, you should see it.
That's right.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen, but we all know that humans are humans, and want to cut time and cost.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, so yes, you should have one cable, cables buried 300 mil apart and 5% tape.
Carmen only did that once, Richard. There's no need to go on about that, all right? Just once she made that mistake.
I've never
only
made
forgiven.
that mistake.
Carmen, don't. He's having to dig at you.
Literally
digging. Is that Gina in the background? I can blur it out in the back there. I think Gina's
just hanging the washing up.
She's just hand washing.
Hey, she bought me a train, Jared.
Bought you a train?
Yeah,
that's right. She's good like that. She did buy you a train. That's correct.
It's good to have a train set.
I love it. Exactly. I've just moved to a bigger train set.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Very
cool. All right, so we go, Jared.
Not many people can go to work and go doot doot doot
doot. We all do that.
Do you have to have a special little water boiling device to get the toot toot to get that authentic, or is that just all done with software these days?
Here's a tangent of an idea that I thought about, because I thought, God, it'd be so cool to build a little steam train, just a little ride-on one or something like that. And I thought, well, you don't really want to run it on wood or whatever. And then I thought, do you know what? You wouldn't care about efficiency. So you could just get like a battery, essentially a kettle, you know, running off batteries, and just boil water inside the chamber, and that's it. Create steam, and then have a little battery steam train. How cool is that?
Or see, what's that? There's a Japanese term for something very sophisticated. There's something useless. I think it's chengdu or some. I forget exactly what it is. But to make it more efficient, you could have a reverse cycle aircon element, a heat pump. So the lithium battery powers the heat pump that draws the heat out of the air, that boils the water to make the steam to push it forward.
I don't know about you, Carmen. It's way above my head.
That's
silly, Carmen.
But I do have a heat pump.
Well, there you go. You're all right.
There you go.
Emma's
We'll
gonna
just
come
borrow
home
Carmen's
one day.
heat pump.
Emma's going to come home one day and go, "Where's the heat pump?" Well,
Just hot water.
It's-
hot water service.
That's what we want. Oh yeah, so I got one too. Yeah, too right, exactly. We just got to need to dial it up to over 100 degrees and make steam.
What's all the talk
dearie
of
me.
hydrogen that they keep advertising for EVs?
So say that again. I didn't get that.
Electricity from hydrogen. They seem to be
Oh,
talking
from
about
hydrogen.
it a lot.
Twiggy
on
Forrest is
TV.
talking about it.
Yeah, that's for storage. So they'll I think that's what they're talking about is that they will get solar power, solar energy, use it in a electrolyzer to split the water to hydrogen and oxygen. I think the oxygen they just let go because there's plenty of it in the atmosphere. They then use that as the means of storage, and then I presume, Richard, they'll just use a fuel cell to convert it directly back to electricity. Like you wouldn't put it through an engine, would you? You wouldn't put it through a gas turbine or anything silly like that. That's not as efficient.
It's a lot more, not very efficient using hydrogen, I don't think, is it?
But isn't it
Compared
very
to solar, it's a lot
expensive to
of
do
work.
that?
So say again, Carmen?
Wouldn't it be very expensive to do that?
It is.
Very expensive and very inefficient because
What ScoMo recommends.
the efficiency between solar power, if you have electricity made and then you store it as hydrogen and then you bring it back to electricity, it's less than 30% efficient. So you're wasting 3 times the energy that you put into it. Whereas if you had batteries, it'd be like 90% efficient.
it could be viable
and
for
even
heavy shipping, though.
yes. But then you've got the sting in the tail because hydrogen is the smallest gas or smallest element, lightest element, and it actually bores its way into the walls of the tanks, and literally wrecks the metal. It undermines the structure of the metal, and it means they've got a very fine. Yeah, and it means they've got a very finite life. So you need to replace the tanks or maintain them. Well, replace them basically. Whatever, every X number of years, otherwise they'll fail. And hydrogen, I know they have worked out how to liquefy hydrogen, but it's at horrendously low temperatures, like much lower than liquid natural gas. So the energy required to do that is tremendous. So but as Richard said, for heavy shipping, if your goal is to strictly have renewable energy as the source, such as solar energy, if you want large, heavy shipping, perhaps hydrogen is that means to an end. Although maybe you can just have large batteries, Richard, and just sacrifice some.
Well, so here's something that I can't even remember. I can't remember who it was that came up with it, or if it was something that occurred to me, or if it was in a discussion. But it was about look, do you do hydrogen for ships, or do you do? No, I think it was from a Facebook conversation. I think someone might have suggested, be batteries, and then it occurred to me or someone that container ships have already got ways of getting containers on and off ships. Why not have battery? 100 containers full of batteries on the dock charging, and then just move them in, last out, first in.
Battery swap.
Yeah, battery swap.
Especially if you're doing a milk run. So if you're doing, and many car, like for instance, the car carriers do a milk run. They go from Shanghai to Singapore, to Brisbane, to Melbourne, to Sydney, to Perth, to Fremantle. So if you're doing a milk run, and a lot of freight does do a milk run, especially in sea container ships, because you don't necessarily have just point to point hubs. You do have to do a milk run. That'd be perfect, Richard. Yeah, you could, and they've already got the perfect. What is it called? A 1 TEU or no, or a 2 TEU? Yeah, 40-foot container.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
That would be super easy, and you could have automatic interconnects.
Yeah.
And they got the world's slowest freight port in the world in Fremantle, so they could just spend 3 weeks charging up there. Yeah.
I was awake for that.
No, but there is
3 weeks to get a car off a dock. Like, really?
I know. I was with you.
I think the whole Toyota Perth are on the methadone program. There's something going on. They're lining up to do something. Like, seriously?
But there are serious politicians promoting this as a future.
Oh, no.
Well,
Yeah.
It's because they... Carmen? You're talking about ScoMo?
It's because they seek... It's because a lot of the fuel transport companies, which is mainly liquid fuels or even gaseous fuels, a lot of them need to seek a reason to continue to exist in a renewable energy sphere, and hydrogen still gives them that reason, because in that paradigm you still have to move the hydrogen around in vehicles, whether they're ships or land transport, whatever.
And here's,
and of course you've got blue hydrogen, which go Richard.
No, I was just going to say, and here's the big lie that it just infuriates me that it's like, so yes, the big lie is, of course we will end up making hydrogen from renewable energy. Of course we will. But in the meantime, look, we better build all of our hydrogen infrastructure, and look, we're going to run it on hydrogen that we've made from methane gas reforming, using all of that lovely gas that you want us to use and burn and consume, and it will be worse for the environment than just burning the gas in the first place. But we're going to do it because it's green, because eventually in 20 years time, when we have industrial quantities of renewable hydrogen, that we've got all the infrastructure using fossil hydrogen, and then we're going to switch over. And it's like, sorry, when you actually look at the details, you're like, you absolute bunch of liars. Like, I've never heard of like, let's build a load of infrastructure because in 20 years time we'll be able to power it, using renewable energy. It's like, who do you think you're trying to kid? You're successfully kidding people who don't know what it is that you're doing.
One thing I've learned in the last 6 months of my life is the government tell fucking lies regularly, and
all the time.
And now you just every day you're seeing them getting caught out. Brittany Higgins and all this sort of stuff. They're all getting caught out, and it'll be very interesting.
But this is our lives, man. Like, if it didn't matter, if it was just someone lying in the back of their pocket that we kind of were all knew about, but we're kind of okay with, and it had no greater consequences, then okay, whatever, that's politics or whatever. But like,
they're just not accountable.
Consequences.
But the thing is, like Richard said, it's worse than actually just burning the gas. Like, if you they're using natural gas and a lot of energy to reform. No, you're cracking it. Sorry, to get the hydrogen.
Methane gas.
You're splitting it. Is it? I think they react it with steam, don't they? Superheated steam, and I think that actually does the job.
I think so.
I think
I'm no chemist.
With a catalyst, but it's actually more energy efficient to just ship LNG and burn it in a power station than it is to ship the hydrogen made from it from natural gas and even putting it through a fuel cell. it's actually much less efficient than just burning natural gas, since that's where it's coming from. Yeah, you're right, Richard. It's appalling, and they're basically, it's a bit like a junkie going from heroin to methadone, and then saying, "Oh, it's just I'm okay because I'm getting off heroin." It's just like you're just substituting one drug with another.
And the funny thing about Norway going for moving to 100% electrification is that Norway is like one of the biggest fossil fuel producers on the planet, but someone's likened them to a drug dealer, and they're like, yeah, never get high off your own supply.
Yes.
So they're going to get themselves off the crack, but they're quite happy to sell that crack to everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but good on them that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they have the world's largest. They're not a very large country. I forgive my ignorance, but I presume their population is.
Oh, it's
to ours or smaller, or maybe a couple of tens of millions, or 10 million, or 20 million, or something.
Somebody do Google it with it.
And
not even sure it's
we could if we could be bothered. Yeah. But
I'm pretty sure there's more crack in Mexico than Norway. I'm pretty
well. True, but they've got the world's largest sovereign wealth fund.
They do
because all that oil
wealth fund.
Yeah,
Norway
all that
more than Dubai and Qatar.
Say again, Carmen. Say it again.
5.3 million in Norway population.
Wow. So 5.3 million, and they've got the world's largest sovereign wealth fund.
Yep.
More than Qatar.
Which is also why they,
Qatar,
because I've had to go through this whole painful process as well. This is why they didn't actually want to join the European Union, because they didn't want to share that money that they built up for their own people. So rightly or wrongly, they're like, no, we're okay financially. We've got plenty of money to look after our people. We don't want to share it with you. So
did you want to know Qatar? That's 2.8 million.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that. I thought it was more.
That's
2.8 million in Qatar. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So there'd be 2.8. There'd be like 0.8 are actually Qatar citizens, and the other 2 million would be Indian, Malaysian, and the workers.
Look, for everyone else.
Yeah.
So Norway's sovereign wealth fund is
disposable. Yeah.
So Norway's sovereign wealth fund has got about $200,000 per head.
Whoa. Yeah.
Now, if they invested that in Tesla shares, they'd be affluent.
Oh,
risky business.
Actually, speaking of which, what is Tesla's share price?
What happened to Pete? Is he gone? Is he?
I
think he's gone. I think he fell off his chair. So Tesla's up, which is good.
It's only 9:22.
Jared, everyone left
as
I started talking.
I had to go and do something. I come back, there's like no one here. Like, what's going on?
There's 4 of us.
Well, they missed you when they said, well, if Jared's not here, it's all over.
I have to rev them up. Some great team members on this plane.
Some people need sleep, Jared.
Yes, true.
I do.
Depends what time they get up. So what's happening with Tesla? Why isn't it up a bit? It's only 9:22.
Well, on the pre-market, it's actually pre-market is 9:37. So the market hasn't opened. It's going to open in 6 minutes.
That's where Pete's gone. He's gone to the marketing open.
If you listen to the Tesla bulls, so if you watch YouTube channels like Dave Lee on investing, he actually explained that he was I think he was a software engineer, and he plowed all his money about 10 years ago into Tesla. He went all in on Tesla, and his investment has increased 100-fold.
Wow!
So he's clearly worth many millions of dollars.
Or
if you listen to
$140 an hour, he went all in, but only $140.
Well, he literally said in his video, he said he was able to go all in on Tesla, And if you listen to, say, Rob Mauer from Tesla Daily Podcast, they go into like a fair bit of depth to explain why many analysts just they don't understand Tesla. They can't comprehend just how strong Tesla's performance is going to be over the next few years. It's the numbers become mind-blowing. I mean, I remember a couple of episodes ago, I explained that just in the last year's full financial figures, they earned enough profit to pay back all of the accumulated losses since they started in just 1 year.
Amazing.
They were able to erase, more than 10 years of losses. And last year is going to be much smaller than this year. And this year is going to be much smaller than next year. And once you get to a certain size, like Tesla actually announced in a 10K or something filing at the Securities Commission that they're projected to only spend between $5 and $7 billion per annum on capital expenditure for the next 3 years. But with that, I think in the last quarter they made more than $8 billion of cash flow.
Yeah.
So in one quarter of last year, they made enough money to do all their future investments for the whole year.
Okay.
Tesla's going to be such in share market parlance. Normally, you have a growth stock or you have a cash cow, and often the stale companies are cash cows because they're just churning out the same sort of money year in, year out because they've got some product that everyone wants, and it just makes money. But you almost never get a cash cow that's a growth company, because that's kind of unheard of, because you almost can't make a lot of money if you're growing so quickly, because usually every time you grow quickly, you almost go broke because you've got to keep borrowing money to build more equipment to make more stuff. But Tesla gets paid for their cars before they've paid for the parts, because their days of inventory, I think they've got 7 days of inventory. So it takes an average 7 days for a car to be sold after it's been built. But they pay suppliers on 30, 40, 60, 90 days for parts. So the faster they grow, the more money they make, which is the opposite to most companies. And it's just out of hand.
I think that, Richard, that your company would still have more flavors of ice cream in the ice cream section compared to Tesla's catering section. Working
That's
in that
the most
plant.
important factor.
I mean, in the plant, I reckon they've probably only got 2 flavors, unlike what you've got going on at your place.
Well, exactly.
You have at least 5 flavors.
Who's the real winner here?
Oh, that's exactly right.
Yeah, but in Texas, they've probably got better burritos and stuff, like.
True.
You never know.
No, though. No, it's crazy. I was in San Diego. Burrito was okay. Over the border into Mexico, amazing. Back into San Diego, and you're like, this is terrible. What's happening? It's the same people making it.
It's very different.
Sanitized for the American
Maybe they're doing
market.
it. Yeah, exactly.
And by the way,
But,
I was far too delirious with tiredness when this conversation came up. But my prediction for Model Y ordering is March next month in Australia.
Wow.
And my
That's
reasoning,
a huge call. So,
and my reasoning is because in just about every other product launch in Australia, it's been 2 years after the launch in the States.
So,
which was in March 2020.
If there's no orders in March, Richard, you would do a full nude run.
Yeah.
Okay. Full on YouTube.
No, and if there are orders,
no.
if there are orders in March, he'll do a nude run.
But they're saying that it's the sales in California is the second best-selling car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. What's the first one, like Corolla or Camry or something?
I think number 3, isn't it the 3?
What's the highest selling car in America?
Sorry. Which one's the highest selling, Carmen? Sorry, Richard was saying. Asking.
Highest selling car in America.
Well,
Dodge pickup with a 12 gauge
I think
shotgun
it's
in the
Model 3, isn't it? And
got to
they're
pick up with a
talking about
shotgun
what
rack.
happened about all the recall. What happened about all the recalling of the cars?
What you mean the software update?
Oh, so
Yeah.
yeah, so Tesla, unfortunately, technically they have to say that software wasn't right, and then they have to have a recall, which is they just push a button on their server and all the cars get updated and job done. So, but that's still technically called a recall.
Oh, really?
Whereas when Toyota do a recall, everyone's got to send the car to the dealer and they've got to swap something or do something. But when Tesla does a software recall, or it catches fire.
Jeep had that problem with the fire under the thing, and they were catching fire. Remember when Jeep having that issue?
Oh, well, Toyota have one now. No, Hyundai. Sorry, Hyundai and Kia have it for some of their like their SUV type cars, where there's a problem with the ABS system, and it can actually catch fire. And they've actually told owners of those cars that they need to park them outside, like not in a garage, just in case. And they're going to recall them, swap the part. Well, yeah, well, they're going to swap the part out and also reduce the capacity of the fuse that powers it, just in case.
That's nuts.
Because apparently you can get wires rubbing together and you get a short circuit, and then you get an engine bay fire, and obviously you've got much more flammable stuff in the engine bay than a Tesla does. So yeah, those recalls happen all the time, but no one ever hears about them. But when there's a Tesla recall, even if there's one that says, yeah, because no one ever hears about other cars having recalls except for Tesla.
Jared, it says that the Tesla's Model Y is taking over the Golden State, whatever that is.
Say that again. Sorry.
California. That's.
Oh, okay. It's CNBC's Phil LeBeau joins Squawk Box to report. Apparently, don't know.
What's taken up? Is it you talking about number one car coming?
It says the Y sales in California. This is the second best-selling car in the state.
I think in America you actually get a handgun with every Y part of the package. I think so. It's probably selling very well. So,
did you actually see where that guy fitted a 9mm handgun? You know in the original Model 3 center console bit where you like tapped it and it sort of pulled back. I don't know if that's so. He set it up there, so he actually mounted it there, and he put this. I'm like, I don't care. Like if that's your culture, then it's not up to me to say that you can't do it. But he was looking for for any flaws with that, and I said, well, look, obviously what you now need to do is put armor in your driver's side door, because if you're going to have a shootout, like that, well, if someone's going to be shooting back, you want to have armor in the door. So, and I think he actually found.
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone else.
That's very important in
it is important.
LA. I remember when I first went to America about 30 years ago, and got into a hire car at Avis at LAX, and couldn't work out why the first thing that the car did was lock the doors. I was like, what's this about? I don't want this going on. And then I, of course, realised that, that the people over there, they have a borrowing program where they like to borrow other people's cars. And if the doors left locked, then they do an Uber service kind of thing.
We, rightly or wrongly, me and my mate drove basically zigzagged all the way through Compton. Just
we try to do that.
Hands on the steering wheel. Don't make any.
That's East LA, isn't it? That is East LA.
South Central.
Well, right.
And it was. Yeah, there were like people walking down the street with blood dripping out their arm. There were horses galloping down the streets. There were people in shopping trolleys. It was amazing. It was quite a day out.
Circus. Definitely, and the same thing you see in Vegas, just a little bit different tone. That's always in Vegas. Exactly the same thing.
There you go. Tesla should have opened now. So
well, we really missed Russell tonight. Where's Russell? What did you do to him?
We did. Russell was at the casual meetup.
He was.
Which was good, but I presume he's.
We've been banned from the Tesla Owners Association after what Joe did. Apparently, Joe caused a bit of a scene there. So about
Oh dear.
She tried to sneak some sandwiches in there. Apparently. So there's the
Oh.
whole story we're going with tonight. So if she's listening to this later on.
Just as well, the Tesla Owners Association is being banned because we are actually the Tesla Owners Club of Western Australia. So
Yeah,
on a technicality, we might be able to sneak back in. Yeah, exactly.
100%, 100%. As long as we're all vaxxed, I'll tell you, we got to be vaxxed. I thought that was very good policy at the door there. It's good.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of such things, I've actually got one of these.
Is that your birth control?
That we thought we'd try. Yeah, well, I got my wife to use it, and unfortunately, she's not pregnant. But
That's probably
we finally.
It's probably a good thing.
We finally.
Happy.
We find it was actually a little bit like that. You almost get a little pang of nervousness. It's like, ooh, are we positive or not? But one little pro tip. This is the V check, which we got. This is our second shipment because the first one went missing for God knows why. But what actually happened was you have this little swizzle stick and you put this in your mouth and you swizzle it around, and then you just insert it into this little doodad here. And the idea is the sponge soaks into the wick, and then you get the lateral flow thing. But what my wife hadn't done is, I'm not sure about that, but what she hadn't done is clicked it in properly. So then nothing happened. After 10 minutes, it was just all blank, and it's like, oh, it's failed. And then I had a closer look, and the instructions say, see this little blue section? That turns blue when you've compressed the sponge and the saliva's touched it, so then it sort of turns blue, so you know you've pushed it in hard enough. And then after only like a couple of minutes, it's a C. I don't know what a C is. I don't have a. Oh, you can't see. Oh, I'm out of focus. But there's C, which I think it means control, and T is and the control line's always beyond the test line because it means the saliva has to reach all the way, so you know it's worked.
Yeah. But I saw my.
We just thought we'd do a dry run.
And it comes up with a little dash of red if it's negative.
Yes.
Why would you want to do this, Harold, if you're well? Because if you do, you have to report it. And if you're well.
No, you only have to report. No, you only have to report a positive result. And we did it as a test because.
That's what Carmen's saying, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we just did it because my wife's in the medical industry, and
well, she would,
subject to continuous exposure. So we thought, and we bought a kit. We bought 20 kits. Well, we actually bought 20 twice because the first lot went missing, thanks to Australia Post Express Post Service.
We love.
Which was last scanned in New South Wales and on its way to Malaga depot, and never got scanned into Malaga. So we thought we'd just do a test just to make sure we can see how it works properly, how to do it, quickly, just in case. And for instance, I've got a mother in a nursing home, and I think these days, particularly since we've just had an outbreak in a nursing home. It's just a good little thing to say, look, I know for a fact that I'm currently negative, or at least as well as you can determine with a rat test.
Yeah.
And say, well, I did the right thing. Well, I try to at least attempt.
Renee has it twice a day. They do a rat test twice a day, one in the morning and one at the end of the.
Really?
Twice a
yes. Day. Well, my kids had quite a few of those on their travels, and then they had to have a PCR on 48 hours. So they've done that, and that's all negative. So that's going on.
What are you doing, Richard?
For work, you mean?
Yeah.
So we've got to do
a PCR.
So we get to the airport about an hour earlier, and there's like a big area where we go for a rat test, and then you get on the bus to the airport. And obviously, they then figure out within that time whether it's positive or negative or not. And and then up on site, we get regularly tested on certain days through the swing. So they know whether, and to some extent, like we try and keep within our work groups as much as possible, so that when one of us has got it, then we can hopefully just isolate only that work group.
And you're masking
Yeah.
everyone inside?
Oh yeah.
But isn't
Full mask up inside.
incubation 14 days?
No, 7 days.
No, not with Omicron. It's and the problem with Omicron is you are contagious before you even become symptomatic. Even if you do become symptomatic, you're already being contagious. So if you just only test on symptoms, you've already commenced spreading it before you even get the test. So
Well, my daughter-in-law
and I think the rat,
and she said you don't really know for 14 days.
No,
okay.
That's probably too long.
So because she's very negative on the 7-day thing.
Yeah.
Yep. There might be a political reason for this thing.
Yes, it's supposed
it's a matter
to
of
be
balance, isn't it? Yeah.
It's supposed to be to make sure that there are enough workers, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly what it was. They don't want to shut
Well,
down.
we're never going to keep it out forever, are we? So
no. Oh no. That most people
Well,
don't.
I
had a 90-year-old aunt who got it, and she was off for 2 or 3 days, and she was fine.
Yeah. Okay.
But she's not one of the. She's not one of the 900 that have died in 19 days.
But those figures aren't. Those figures aren't
Well,
right.
those figures are pretty spot on.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. They're pretty spot on. Seriously, Carmen, they're pretty spot on. A lot of people have died from COVID.
Not only from COVID.
COVID complications, definitely.
No.
I think.
But
COVID with diabetes, COVID with cancer, COVID with whatever, but definitely complications.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter. But the problem is no one's really saying it's too bad at the moment because it hasn't affected anyone. But when somebody dies that's your family member, then you'll go, oh, it's really bad. But at the moment, it's not because no one's died that you know or close to if you know what I'm saying. So it's not really affecting.
No one has died from AIDS. They've died from not having an immune system.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
But so they've died of.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So you could say, well, no one's died of AIDS then.
So some people, they get COVID and they have serious complications and they get on those ventilators. And once they're on a ventilator, they don't get off. They just basically.
And in your position, Jared, I can
100%. I'm a type 2 diabetes and overweight.
Asthmatic.
I mean, I'm a candidate to go on a ventilator.
Mm.
And I'm triple vaxxed, and the minute I can get a 4th vax. And right now, my wife doesn't come near me because she's afraid to give it to me because she works every day near it.
Yeah, right.
She's absolutely frightened to give it to me. Even so, I'm protected, but she's still scared. So it's scary. But the worst thing is about this whole thing is everyone brushes it off and goes,
"Oh, I don't."
Wait till it gets in. Wait till the next 2 months, and then people that have died from it. Then you'll go, "Oh, yeah, right." So it is pretty serious.
It's not being brushed off. There is no doubt that some people are at risk. I do have an immune deficient son, and some people are at risk. And those people like you and him have to be very, very careful.
Of course, very. I'm frightened of it. Absolutely frightened. I don't want to get it.
You know what? A lot of people are doing now. They're gathering outside bottle shops. And because they haven't been vaxxed or they can't be bothered getting the document or whatever, usually just haven't been vaccinated. And they'll badger people walking into the shops to say, hey, can you go and buy me whatever? And they'll give them cash and they'll be pointing going, no, not that one. It's on the left. It's that one.
I remember doing that, but for not that reason.
Yeah, you weren't old enough.
Because you were younger, when you were a younger man.
That's bad. I think people should be vaxxed, definitely, because they put others at risk.
There's over 10,000 people in WA that aren't vaxxed. Over 10,000.
I'd
That's
say
their
more.
problem as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but they've got these massive beliefs that,
Yeah.
and some of them are Christians and that won't get vaxxed, and some are, it's against Jesus's ways.
Yeah.
There's all
Well, I
confusing,
think
so.
when it comes to getting a hospital bed, if there aren't any, the people not vax may have to wait a little while.
Well, how can any doctor make that decision?
Yeah, but you won't.
Exactly.
Yeah, you won't. They
Oh,
don't do that.
You have managers that can do it, not the doctor.
I'm scared that if I have asthma and I go to hospital,
exactly,
and I can't get a bed because it's full of COVID people that haven't been vaxxed.
That's
I'm
true.
going,
Yep.
right, how's that work for me?
And that's how people like you and I can die, because the hospital will be so full of unvaccinated COVID patients that if we have a heart attack, a hemorrhage, an asthma attack, or stroke or whatever,
will get taken care of.
Positive
but
on a
today they have
pregnancy test.
announced that all surgeries after the 7th of March that are not A1 category will be cancelled.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, actually, Carmen, it's earlier than that. It's the 28th of February for public hospitals, and for private hospitals, I think it's the 7th of March, where they're being warned to basically not take new bookings, and that'll be for a period of about 8 weeks. So if you've got, and it's only category 1, which is the urgent. So for instance, so it's
unless you've got the prison look like Pete, you're going to get in straight away. Otherwise, people like me, clean cut, are going to have to line up.
Guys, if you are ever finding it hard to breathe, I've got a rebreather here for diving, and I can hook you up on it on a 100% O2 loop. So
that'll be handy if I start having problems to breathe from Belmont to Fremantle. I shouldn't make it by the time I get there.
I'll be like, right, get you on here, put the
mask on.
The
rebreather, away we go.
Keep hitting the O2 add valve. You can sit there breathing 100%.
Can you get 200% oxygen? Is that possible? Oh, we could supersaturate him. Yeah. We could put him in a pressure chamber.
Exactly.
We could do that too.
I could put him at 10 meters on 100% O2.
When I went to hospital last year in November, they put me straight into this compression room because they thought I had COVID, and all they were interested was sticking. And that old nurse, if she's watching this tonight, she stuck that thing so far up my nose. I got a blood nose, and I'll never forget her. She is on my #1 hit list. She's like, I know she's sick.
So you mean to say that nurse got up your nose? She really got up your nose, didn't she?
It was the first time I had that test, and I swear to God, I'd rather have a canyon put in. I'd rather have a prostate check with 3 fingers, prison style, but not that test up the nose, because that.
Hey, can you ask to do
nose.
it yourself if you're in the position where they need one? Can you ask to do it yourself rather?
No,
than
they got to stick it in them. They stick it in right up your nose.
Yeah, they've got to.
In the back of your mouth first. If they like you, it's the back of the mouth first, then up the nose. Otherwise, if they don't like you, it's up the nose in the back of the mouth. So I know they're little scams. Okay, so I'm on them now, and that was a horrible experience. Horrible.
Is that a bit like when you get a yellow sticker? If they like you, they put it vertically, and if they really hate you, they put it horizontally, and that's code for the inspector to not pass it.
So Jared, I kind of share your fear about this to some extent, because I nearly died when I think I was 12 in London, because I had asthma as a child and grew out of it, thankfully. But I had croup, and obviously when you're at that age, so yeah, I remember Dad actually got stopped by the police driving me to hospital, and when they saw me, they gave us a police escort. But
wow.
We later found out that thousands of asthmatics across London died that year because the pollution spike, was huge. And my folks were like, well, we didn't. No one knew. We didn't know. So I hear you when you're.
It's I mean, I'm a lot older.
I will never forget that experience of desperately fighting for breath.
Oh yeah, that's what happened to me last November. Same thing.
But when like I said, when I went to hospital, all that they wanted to treat me was they thought I was COVID. And if I wasn't COVID, I was a training guinea pig for them, because that's what they were doing. Every time that nurse was putting the PP on, there was 4 other nurses watching her and learning how they do it and how they correspond to doing it. But she shoved that thing up my nose so far up my nose. I swear to God, I bled for like 3 days, it felt like.
So that was a good training session to say, don't do this.
It was great. I was really, and then I was having problems breathing, and they were like, well, we're just going to wait for the results to come back from the PCR. Like, you know, they were sort of like more worried about that than anything else. It was just so stupid. But the nurses back in November were absolutely shitting themselves about what's going to happen. So I can't imagine what they're like now, you know.
I think they're better now, but I've had a child with those symptoms, and they used to cough blood because they kept bursting blood vessels. So it is pretty scary.
It is.
Asthma does that because I've got asthma myself, and I've been a bit of a lapsed asthmatic in that, you know, if you take your QVAR or whatever your preventative, it's actually pretty good and it works pretty well, because then you suck down a whole lot less Ventolin. Like, you know, I've bagged down easily bag of Ventolin a week, if not more. But if you take your
use the spacers with
no, I don't bother with the spacer. I just go straight direct. But now they've changed Ventolin where they've got that stupid counter. They've got the little counter in it, and it's got the count on the back. But what it does is it then adds all this stuff, which is a constriction down the hole. So when you suck back on a new Ventolin, it's a lot more restrictive. So you get like a delayed, like it takes longer to draw the air through.
I've noticed it's also hard to get at the chemist, and they only give you one at a time.
Oh, I love how they ask you
my
so many
sons
questions.
who that do exercise, they sort of need to take one with them, and they had trouble at one stage getting it.
Yeah, that was in 2020, where you couldn't. You can only get one script at a time, one fill at a time, and it's like I'm very lazy going to the chemist. So
they changed that.
You know, just give me 6 months worth of scripts, and I'll be happy, because I don't have to come here twice a year. But they go, no, we can only give you one Ventolin, one of anything.
They changed that. You don't need a script for Ventolin anymore because a kid died from it.
No, that's right. Yes, but they only give you one.
Yeah,
because it's an S.
Like, you know, have you used it before? Do you know someone who uses it? Do you know how to use it properly? And all these questions are so.
Yeah, they've derated it as a non. You can do it without prescription, but the preventer you need.
Symbicort I use.
Yeah, Symbicort, I've got that. Yeah.
And you suck that in, and then that stops it. So I just do that now once a day. That's it. And
yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. But yeah, it's scary stuff. And you're right, Carmen, when you've got really bad asthma, you can't breathe in. And of course, because you've got a vacuum in your lungs, it literally ruptures your blood vessels in your lungs, and you start coughing up blood. And you can, in fact, I've often smelt or tasted the blood in my air on my breath, because it's the little blood vessels popping.
It's
pretty it's serious stuff. And absolutely.
And Richard, what do you got planned for this week off? This 2 weeks? Anything exciting?
Yeah, we're off to Busso tomorrow.
Oh, Busselton, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
A little family getaway.
Just the 3 nights on the holiday park there, but yeah, there's two other mum friend couples with young whippersnappers. That we're all going together as group of 3 of us all staying in chalets at the caravan park. So so that's cool. We were going to try and go to Albany last R&R, but we just ran out of time. Too much to do. This has been planned for quite a time. So 4 days.
I like Busselton. I take my family once a year, usually in March, but we're going in April this year.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
We all go to Busselton Beach Resort. It's getting old now. Yeah.
Oh, the days.
That's cool. Oh, have a great time then.
Mm.
Yeah, there you go.
No,
What
we'll
about you,
have
Joe?
fun.
Sorry?
All right, guys. Well, some of us have to get
Yeah,
up
it's
early.
probably early.
So I'm saying good night.
There was a record broken last
Pete,
week.
what's
130, wasn't
the AXX? What's happened to Tesla?
it? Sorry, what happened to the what? I thought you said
Tesla.
the sex. What sex? What are you talking about?
Tesla.
No,
ASX.
934.
Oh, ASX.
Never heard of it.
Carmen, I think it's going to go up a little bit tonight. Going a little positive. But it's going to take a
It's
while
up
to get
about
back.
1%.
Okay,
It's a bit-
Pete.
It's
Mr.
a bit
Gloom and
early,
Gloom.
isn't it?
It's only just hovering down 1%. It's going to come back. You know, don't
It
start
actually
selling
got
these
to,
shares.
It got to
934.
945,
It's
but
up $12.
yeah, it's barely keeping up with the Nasdaq. It usually
There you go.
usually does better than the Nasdaq. Its moves are usually more
Yeah.
big up on both ends than the Nasdaq.
Yeah.
I really like watching Fast Money, Pete. You ever watch him? Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
He's got all the bells and whistles like you and Harold.
he does. Copied me and Harold.
Jim Cramer. Hey, Harold, you're on mute. We can't hear.
He's got a great voice, though. That's
Tesla's share price is a little bit like this.
traffic accident. No volume. No volume.
Oh,
Oh,
Nice.
it's a bit ahead of the curve.
Do that again.
Pete, did I see
He was
that
ahead of the
you
curve,
and the wife
just.
have got the same plates? Did I see your wife's car there on Sunday?
wow.
Yeah.
Have you got the same plates?
The same plates?
Yeah, custom.
No.
plates.
No.
So
She just has standard plates.
Oh, I thought I saw electric on someone's car
Oh.
in white. I thought no, Pete's got that.
Oh, yes. No, you're right. You're right there, Jared, but it wasn't electric. It was...
What was it?
Oh.
Something like that, wasn't it? And it was a white.
Yeah, it was, but it had more numbers to substitute letters and stuff. I don't know if it was electric.
Electric, something like that. Yeah. 'Cause I
Something
thought,
like
Pete's
electric,
done
but...
that. I thought Pete's done that one because in white. I thought,
No, she's going to have 2 weeks.
No, I've got 2 weeks. She's going to have 3 weeks.
Night, guys.
Good night, Carmen.
Bye.
There, Carmen.
Have
Any
fun.
idea when you're going to be finished here?
2 weeks. How long will it take to put this place together?
2 weeks.
I do get the permit.
My favourite movie
But-
ever.
But I still reckon that this is better.
Oh, yeah. This is
As a
good.
Tesla owner, my self-identity is wrapped up in my car. And I can confidently tell you that the best way to care for the environment is to drive a $110,000 electric car because it has zero emissions. And I want you to know from the bottom of my Tesla owning heart to you, if you don't drive a Tesla, then you're selfish and clearly hate the environment.
Did this guy actually end up buying a Tesla? Doesn't he actually drive a Tesla now? I don't know if that's just a rumor or yeah.
I have no idea.
Definitely a good one, that
It's
one.
surprising how many YouTubers drive Teslas. Like, a lot of the technology guys that do other sort of channels.
Drive Tesla.
There's a guy that I was getting into a lot of Ubiquity internet stuff because I was trying to work out how to get stuff working on the Ubiquity router and stuff. And there's some random guy that's got, 1 million subscribers or so that does these videos. And then he showed the camera working in his garage, and in his garage there's a Model 3. And it's like, yeah, of course you own a Tesla, because why wouldn't you? So yeah, they're so ubiquitous.
People forget that Tesla is a technology company that happens to make cars.
Yeah. Yep. It's an iPad on wheels, and yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. Have you got any last roundups or anything before we wind this up? Because we're not going to do a last week where we went till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, my wife didn't take the
Really?
far out. I was on site.
I think the recording was only 3 and a bit hours, but we paused it for a long time, and in the end we tapped out at over. It was after 1:30.
I'm pretty sure I woke up at some point and I was like, geez, it must be late. Still going? Or is this...
Yeah, that's because Russell loves to ask Harold the most difficult question you can imagine. 5 minutes before we go, okay, we're going to wrap it up now. And then Russell will go, can you give me the answer to the atom splitting down, the centrifusion? Like, Russell is such a classic.
Can you explain how the Big Bang formed the entire universe?
Yeah,
in details.
We love Russell. Oh, we've missed him.
But it was good. No, we were doing a deep dive into shares and buying shares and all that stuff, which we're not going to repeat now because otherwise it will be 1:30 when we stop. But it's all good. All right, cool. In absence of anything breaking, any breaking news, it might be a good time to wrap up. Obviously, for everyone watching in YouTube land, shout out to Ashley, Joseph, Damon with the burnt orange car. Oh, that was a bit of news. There's a rumor that Tesla are going to bring out customizable color appearance for your car in your app. So you can change it. There's like a color wheel and you can change your car to any color you like. So Damon, specifically for you go on, Richard.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, did they mention if they're going to do the, you could change the colour of the wheels as well? Because obviously sometimes you might get a silver wheel and get sprayed black. Maybe they will and it's just not mentioned. I don't know.
I don't think the wheels were mentioned, but that's not to say that they're not customizable, but maybe Tesla haven't quite got around to that. I mean, you can change the type of wheels, you can change different Tesla wheels. Yeah. So you could, for instance, have arachnoids or whatever. But
about the aero wheels, the 19s that I then found and got.
So can you? That wouldn't be a selectable option in your car though, Richard, because it didn't come with those.
No, it is. That's how I found
it. Did it? Oh, it is.
That's how I did it. I was like, what do you mean 19-inch aero wheels? And yeah, and then I was on a mission.
He's gone. He's on the mission.
Yeah, right. Cool. So getting back to Damon, the good news, Damon, is that you will be able to select burnt orange in your Tesla app for your car. So please do come back to a live session one day, so you can show us what your burnt orange car looks like on your phone. That would be awesome. And obviously, Ashley, we hope you get well sooner, and everyone else, Joseph and Chris and others, thank you for watching. Obviously, like and subscribe if you can be bothered. Yeah, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so that every Wednesday night or Thursday morning you'll get this brand new awesome episode. So and everyone here, Pete, Jared, Richard, Peter, and me, thanks for being on and sticking to the end. Although Jared did have you had a little nana nap, so that's all right. That's good. Take care of yourselves, everyone. Stay safe, and have an awesome week. And we'll catch you next week on Ask Us Anything.
Absolutely.
Woo-hoo.
See you guys.
Take care, everyone.
See you guys.
See ya. Bye.